and then another 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 and then another.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played,
songs that made the hit parade.
guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
And you knew where you were then.
Girls were girls and men were men. Mister, we could use a man like Herbert Hoover again. Didn't need no welfare state.
Everybody pulled his weight.
G.R.O. LaSalle ran great. Those were the days.
Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead by an any big fat love, find common ground to halt the spread of lies, and we must do it. Big fat love, find common ground to halt the spread of lies, and any Insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead by an any big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and we must do it big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and any America first, America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead by an any. Insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Maya hoo, Maya ha, Maya ha ha, Maya hee, Maya hoo, Maya ha, Maya ha ha, vrijsta pleista, no my yay, no my yay, keep al touchy, tragostariente, mia minteste, okitayay.
Well, hello. What a fun night this is going to be.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Yeah, it's going to be a good night. We got Mad Ruth in the chat. Actually, probably that was at 8 o'clock. So we'll see you in 2 hours, he said. So let's see if we do. We got Nicholas Gear here. Welcome. We got Ray Wolf Graphics. Hiya, chat. Thanks for being a channel member. We very much appreciate it. Sarcotic Studios is in the house. Hey, if you are off, let me know. I will send you the link, and you can come on and talk about your book. We'd love to get more eyes on that book for you, okay? Mo Biggs is in the house. Well, hey, old Mo Biggs. It's great to have you here, man. Really, really appreciate you being here. It is not a chat unless we got Mo Biggs in the house. All right, so, yep, Mad Ruth is here. Well, doing well. All right. Let me get you on the Twits to Tots or whatever it's called there, the Twitterverse. Sarcotic Studios, right? Sarcotic.quasar.
Suspense
Here's
is
the link,
killing
brother.
me.
The suspense. There we go. Link. Nope, wrong link. My bad. I just sent you the link to the video. Watch the dang video. There we go. StreamYard link sent, my friend. Feel free to hop on in. And we've got Matt in the house. Welcome, Matt.
How's it going?
Oh, you know, finer than frog hair, split 4 ways, my friend. Tonight's NerdCap is brought to you by our friends over at Critical Blast. Yeah, very cool. Look at this. Nick. Oh my gosh, I did not hear this. You got to send me an article about this. It says, Dear Lord, Luke, I don't know if you heard what Wizards of the Coast sent Pinkerton security agents to seize cards from a set that wasn't released yet.
It's intense again.
Ooh. My gosh. Come on, it's just a dang game, guys. Dear Lord. Wizards of the Coast, man, they like to... Oh, man, they burn my toast.
Is it Wizards or is it Hasbro that's really kind of fueling their behavior, though, the past few years?
Oh, it's definitely Hasbro, man. It's definitely Hasbro.
That's the way I feel. Hasbro is, like, awful.
Well, yeah, they are. And whenever you get the big arm of a company like that behind anything, they just screw it up, man. They screw it up. Welcome, Buddy Lord is in the house. Buddy Lord is brought to you by the Buckler.
Hey, you! Are you tired of lame-ass stories for kids? Well, don't be a moron. Walk through that door. What's wrong? Don't be a sissy baby. Just have a look. The Buckler Canadian Tussle. Exclusively on Fun My Comic.
Exclusively, I really like that word, guys. I love that word, especially when Fun My Comic comes afterwards. I really, really do. Oh, we got someone else in the back room, waiting in the green room. Everyone, welcome Ray Haylock. Ray Haylock is brought to you by the Sin Killer. Welcome, Ray. Here you go. Now that, my friends, is some trailer music. Holy cow, man, that's awesome. Awesome stuff. We've got Edwin, Raid of the White Leopard. Edwin Acevedo is in the house. Hail, peeps. It's good to have you here tonight. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for that article link, and I may just pull that up. Can you DM that to me? I do appreciate that if you could. I have trouble grabbing the links from the chat here. Grey Wolf says, I think that Hasbro made the old G.I. Joe figures in the 60s and the 70s. You know what? What do you guys know anything about that?
No.
Nobody knows anything.
No, sorry.
Yeah, we're like, oh, I don't know anything, man. I don't know. Matt, what are you doing over there? You're teleporting.
I was trying to find an image. That way you guys don't have to see my really lame curtains.
Yeah. Lame curtains. I love that in my room it looks like it's a big room, doesn't it? But it's not. It's like 10 by 10. It's a small little room. It's like this little tiny little cave that I'm in. Just the camera has that like nice wide angle. Everything pretty much is touching with an arm's reach. So, but it makes it easy to light it up and look cool. Ray, you got a new mic set up, dude.
Yeah, I'm testing it out. You've broken its cherry.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's one thing I'm known for. No pterodactyls. If there's one thing I'm known for, it is.
What a story, Mark.
We got Hojo in the house. Welcome, Hojo. It's great to have you here.
Hail, Hojo.
Hail, Hojo.
Hojo.
Carol Colors is in the house.
Hey.
Hasbro outfits both G.I. Joe and Cobra. They really do. It's like Stark. It's like Stark Industries over there. It's like the U.S. government. We're. Oh, so Nick. Here's a funny story. I was on Facebook. I'm rarely on Facebook, but I saw Nick was over there on Facebook, and he had said something about Tucker Carlson getting fired, right? So, I don't know much about it. Really. I guess I would have to care. I don't really watch Fox News. I don't watch CNN. I prefer to get my news from truly unreputable places. Like the Inquirer. I feel like they're probably more honest. I prefer to scour wiki farms or something like that for my news.
I mean, what's the difference between the National Enquirer and any social media journal?
I don't think there is a difference, to be quite honest with you.
I prefer weekly world news.
Weekly
I like
Is that
to
even
go-
still a thing?
I like to wait until midnight during the dawning of the late hours and talk to Jimbo, the crackhead in the corner, for my news.
Yes, I like to go out to the like to go out to Walmart parking lot and find the first person that's got that little twitch going. Dude, what's going on?
Get the scoop.
Give me the skinny.
I get my news from my missus. It's good enough for me.
Yes, World News. World News is brought to you by The Fool. Check it out.
Arrow Comics is proud to present to you the fast-paced vigilante justice as only... what is this guy dressed as? This is The Fool. This is The Fool from Arrow Comics with great artwork by Chris Tyson, colors by Patrick Gamma, written and created by Randy Zimmerman. This guy runs around the city using practical joke weapons to fight crime, and the cops just want to get him off the street before he hurts somebody. You need to read this book. Available in its own individual campaign or part of Arrow Bundle number 2. Arrow Bundle number 1 is also available with the Fool campaign over at fundmycomic.com. Check it out.
Check it out. Nice. Yes. Whenever you talk about the mainstream media, you have to bring up The Fool. Because if you believe anything that those guys tell you, then you have to be a fool. Nick says the Weekly World News is the world's most reliable news network. Probably is. We got
He knows
Boldcat
what I'm
Studios in
talking
the
about.
house. Welcome, Boldcat Studios. It's nice to have you here. Buddy, how are you doing, man? You've been so quiet. Haven't heard a growl out of you.
I'm just listening to you guys.
The dinosaur gets me every time.
The dinosaur.
I know. I'm kind of jealous of the dinosaur. I'm just kind of floating on a brick wall here.
Yeah.
Another brick in the wall.
Yes, of course. All right, well, tonight you might have clicked on this and seen that it says none of this is real. And of course, we have to have a talking dinosaur on the panel on the night that we say none of this is real. So we're going to cover a little bit of the news tonight as we get ready to wind down for the evening.
Are we
and
talking
hopefully it's
about
been
consciousness and the new discovery of that?
No, we're not.
Okay.
Aliens? We got aliens? Is there aliens in the docket?
No, we've discovered in the past 20 years with the new neural network and neuroscientific methods that we actually, what you feel is only 1/1000th of what's actually there.
Hamalana?
I'm not a smart man.
That sounds like a lot, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy talk. We said, Grey Wolf Graphic says that Thomas Jefferson said, trust nothing in newspapers except the advertising, and even that is suspect. I really do believe that. In fact, it's getting so much to the point where I don't believe anything that I see these days unless I see it with my own two eyes in the flesh. It's getting to be that way. While we're sitting here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, I want to also welcome our Rumble guest tonight that are watching. Rumble. Our Rumble is brought to you by, I don't know, who's it brought to you by tonight? Tonight it shall be brought to you by the Comics by Night.
In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Everything about that trailer says Randy Zimmerman. I'm not going to lie. That is some old obscure movie. Ice cream that looks like boobies and an explosion. That is like Randy is. So Randy is the oldest guy that I've ever met with like the most childlike, whimsical imagination. And he comes across as like really grumpy. Which I think
he's got a voice that sounds like he's chewing on rocks and glass.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Hello, this is the Fool. Buy it.
Buy the Fool. Yeah, buy the Fool, you fool. Nick says, I am talking about how the vast majority of folks online are fake personas. And yes. So I see so many times people get upset and they just get worked up about the stuff they see on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and they just go nuts. And so tonight I did want to talk a little bit as we kind of get into winding down, and hopefully everyone was productive this week, or at least today so far. But that I believe that everyone plays a version of themselves for social media. Like, obviously, we got Buddy Lord, the talking dino. Right? But, I mean, aside from that, like, I think that most of us, that we play we present what we want people to see. And I've found that there's a lot of people that are really nice online, and they're just terrible human beings. IRL. No cap, for real. Straight bussin'. Killed the room, look at that.
I think it's just an exacerbation of what has already been there. I mean, this is, you can look at like ancient philosophy, like go back to Aristotle. Aristotle talked about in the metaphysics how man was as blind to the truth as a bat was to the light of day. And everybody's like, oh, that's just, bat uses echolocation and da-da-da. That's not what they're saying. Bats can see during the day. They don't. They purposefully keep their eyes closed. That's what people do to truth. We are averse to truth. And then later on, and some of the 1900s philosophy that wasn't crap out of France, you had Jean-Paul Sartre. And Jean-Paul Sartre said that people are hell. And the long version of that is that it's something that we've come into today, which is the 20, 40, 60 rule, which is like at 20, you think everybody's thinking about you and you're worried about what everybody thinks. At 40, you stop caring what everybody thinks. Raw, I'm going to do me. At 60, you realize finally they were never thinking about you.
Welcome, Clayton Barton, to the house.
Hey, Luke, how you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to
and
good to see
everybody
you
else. Amazing to see you guys as well. Some of you I've never met before, but how you doing?
They're doing okay. They apparently don't like to talk. They like to come on YouTube and not say.
Well, anyway,
say anything.
So Jean-Paul Sartre said the hell was people because
Clayton Barton is brought to you by. Clayton Barton is brought to you by Chrome Dog. I like that trailers are starting to end with the big at the end, so you know they're over.
Everything blows up and then it's over.
Like I really need to know
Then
that
it's
the trailer's over.
over.
Because when I
Gotta
hear that, I'm
end-
like,
end
oh
with a
crap, I
bang.
gotta get back to the screen. Gotta get back to the camera.
So I don't know, but everybody's got like an idea of what they think people think of them, and so you affect people based on what you think they think, and that's why Sartre said that other people were hell, you know, and then
Yeah.
everybody's doing that, and so on the internet it's even more exacerbated because it's not what you think they think what you think, it's what you think they think what you think they think what they pretended to be they think, because they're trying to present the best, you know, a residual self-image. You know, like the whole Matrix thing, they're trying to present some sort of residual self-image of themselves. And they're doing that, but then you are creating this entire persona of somebody you've never met. You've just seen 255 characters at a time, which extrapolates absolutely nothing of value.
You certainly are. And here's the thing that I found also in all of that people will kind of try to narrow down your personality to one or two things. And that there are people that will just lean into those things and they will make it a whole internet persona. Clayton, have you ever found, like we're talking about the fact that most of what we see online is not real. Like there's, you know, it's just not real life. We talk about the disconnect between real life and the internet, and how, and we're going to kind of connect that to how we navigate making comic books and entertainment, you know, because there's so many people that get upset. They're fighting over stupid crap, right? I think you spend 5 minutes on Twitter, you find people like, oh, I'm mad about this. And
For sure.
somebody's fighting over here. And I mean, we see it man, I really see this inside of CG a lot too, where there's, you know, like I'm like right now, like somebody's cool with somebody today. But then by the time my book actually comes out and their artwork was used for a pinup, they're like, oh, I can't believe you used their art because I don't like that guy. I'm like, wow, that is, I can't keep up with all that half the time. But, you know, what do we get upset about? What do we get excited about when it comes in terms of what we see online?
It's a good question. I think it comes down to people acting tougher and feeling more comfortable expressing their more dramatic points of view online because they're behind a screen. You wouldn't get you wouldn't get that if you were talking to someone or that same person in reality, in real life. It's only because they're on their computer that they're...
Like you can't punch him in the face kind of thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And most people are reserved in real life, unless they're just completely unhinged. You can't really read social cues when you're typing something on Twitter.
Communication that are missing between any online and even like video to video face chat. You know, there are just so many social cues. Like there's the eye, there's the, you know, the different kind of gesticular movements, like your the hand gesticulations and that kind of thing, the way people move their hands, because you have certain autonomic parasympathetic functions that operate on a very lizard, like limbic level.
Well, yeah, I mean, you put that better than I ever could. It's exactly it. And it's funny, lizard level. You are a lizard, so you would know.
I know what I'm talking about, eh?
Yeah.
But I think as well, you said that it happens in CG a lot, and that's because drama is somewhat tied into the marketing aspect of comic books. And people love it. That's what people tune into. If you've got a channel and some drama is unraveling throughout the show, people are going to come over and watch it. They're going to tune in. That's why Jerry Springer was a big thing on TV back in the day. People loved tuning into the drama.
Oh, yeah.
And so, in a sense, you could see it as a tactic to get viewers, to build an audience that is highly engaged. However, is it the long game tactic that you really want to use? Because there's plenty more marketing approaches that you could take to getting your book out there, and remember that you're associating a certain feeling and you're creating a certain relationship with that audience, and whenever they think of your book, they're going to think of the vibes that your show, that you give them. And if it's a vibe of drama and you're getting into fights with people all the time, then that's not really doing your book any favors, and I would be somewhat curious as to how that converts as far as sales is concerned.
Yeah, it certainly might get you a lot of social media engagement based on hate, and
but it
it might get you a lot of
money
rewatches.
necessarily.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily equate to those things. I think there are a few people that have kind of become shock jocks in a way that have been able to turn outrage into money. I've not figured out how to do that yet. I guess I'm just not polarizing enough, and I don't know that I want to be. I don't know that I really care to be. Jared Frost says, Eric July has said, Twitter likes aren't sales, and no matter how much support Marvel gets during Pride Month, those aren't customers. We want customers, and that really is true. I think that we kind of present these personas, and are we really translating that to sales? And a couple of months ago, it feels like months ago, might have been weeks, who knows at this point, because time doesn't feel real some days. We talked about I think it was on Nerd Bacon. We talked about, do artists now have to become entertainers? Do they have to, in some way be able to entertain? And there's, a lot of creators out there that they like to, how can I say it without being a jackass? You know what? Let me just be a jackass.
Just be like,
be a jackass, man. Go crazy.
I'll just be the jackass.
Let's make some drama on this stream.
Right? Yeah. They puff themselves up. They get all like peacocky, right? Especially when it comes in terms of marketing. Like, you've got to do this to sell your book. You've got to do this to run your business. I remember everyone was like, if you're an indie comic creator, you can't do floppies. You've got to do graphic novels, and if you do floppies, you're just killing yourself. Well, people were doing floppies and doing fine. And now people are like, oh, well, graphic novels are too expensive and too hard to do. You need to get your book out there. You need to break it down in chunks. Now you need to do floppies. Well, make up your mind. Which is it, man?
Well, what you're seeing, what I'm seeing, being the version of CG, is I'm seeing a lot of people out there saying, well, their experience in getting stuff together is now gospel. Meanwhile, somebody else's experience, and they're both successful, but the other person's success is not the way he did it, and then it's his gospel.
Yeah, and people start creating drama over how much to charge for shipping versus, like real stuff. Like, it gets
it's
incredibly
ideological
mundane.
inflation, otherwise known as a purity spiral. When you create like an ideology or a cult or something, you've created a like pathology to follow, right, instead of a methodology. Then what ends up happening is you create a purity spiral within the group that conflagrates that situation. And it's a reverse purity spiral. It doesn't go down, it goes up, right? And so the further they go up, the more air, the more crap they have to create in order to circulate the same amount of stuff. But here's the thing. The people don't understand capitalism. Capital is not money. Capital is what it takes to make money. Okay? Or you have like money and you have credit, and then you have money and credit influence work or products. Your actual wealth is your productivity or activity. In this case, it would be actually selling the books, right? Like really selling the books, not just, going out, making a bunch of noise, doing whatever. Because like you were saying, you can get a bunch of likes, you can get all this conflagration, you can get all this like, congruence of people. It doesn't mean anything unless you sell something.
Yeah, like even like YouTube subs don't mean anything.
Yeah, YouTube is great because it does allow you to create more of an intimate relationship with your audience. So there's that to consider. Especially if you are deciding to start a drama channel. But
right now,
also
you're very successful with YouTube, aren't you? With your Draw school.
Yeah.
Someone-
Yeah, I could
what
utilize it
YouTube
better.
Does is definitely like it has what YouTube and even Twitter do is it decreases the idea of the barrier between you and your customer. You know what I mean? So they think they're right there with you, that they're influencing you, that they're part of what you do, right? And so because of that, they're more than excited. They become what's in the diffusion of business tactic known as early adopters. They're your satellites, basically. They get in early, they buy everything you make, they promote you to other people, right? But when you become really successful is when that's 14% of your group. When you become really successful. But I think that like I have from what I've noticed, I think that normally that's 14%. And I think that when you have like a YouTube and you have a dedicated following, that the early adapters of the people who follow you is more like 30 to 40%. I think it's like 2.5 times. They're very engaged, very into what you do. And engagement really is the key. If they're talking to you, like that person that talks to you every day, that shares what you do every day, that's the person you want to keep in touch with. You know?
Yep. And also, social media, I've found, is not going to lead to direct sales straight up. Social media is really great for audience acquisition. So what you would be better off doing, rather than trying to send people straight to the sales page of your comic book or whatever it is you're selling, is send them to a landing page to sign up to your email list. Because email list, by far, has the greatest conversion still out of everything else. And so what you could do, for example, is you could say,
offering
hey,
for this man right now.
Yeah.
This is the gospel.
Here's a free copy of the first issue of my comic book series. All you got to do is just tell me where to send it. Sign up to my email list, and I'll send it straight to you. And then from that point onward, you can create more of a closer relationship through email. And then when you're ready to sell your product and make those conversions, even then, when you send out that email to promote it, it's not about getting them to buy straight away. All it's about, so you're not actually pitching them in the email that you send to them to buy your product. You're just getting them to click the link.
Well, you want them to join
the
your club, is what you want to do. You want them to join your club.
So what you want to say in your email when you launch your campaign, I mean, you could do what I would with a campaign for your comic book. Maybe you would just say, "Hey, my campaign's launched. Check it out," and maybe that would be enough. But if you're selling, so what I'll typically do to get a ton of clicks to a landing page for a product with a really good pitch is I'll say, "Hey, this is amazing. Check it out." And so you're trying to create this sense of curiosity. Okay, you're beckoning them just to click, and that's all that the aim of the game is with your email. And then it's the job of the landing page and your pitch for your product to actually sell them and to convert them. That's what I've found has worked best.
I'm kind of learning also that people want a relationship with the creator. They want to feel like they're a part of that, and that it's not just a product. And some people, that all they want is like, I'm just only interested in the product. But I find that truly engaged people, like they really want to connect. So I first learned about you, Clayton, through YouTube a number of years ago when you first started doing the How to Draw Comics videos on YouTube. I would watch those things religiously.
Wow, like really? Thank you.
I sucked every bit of information up that I could, not that I draw anything like you, but you taught a lot of really good tools about drawing comic books specifically, things that I was able to adapt into my own styles, but it helped me understand, the consistency part, and a lot of it, obviously everything has to come with practice. You can't watch a YouTube video and become an expert, no matter how much some people might want to think they can, Well, I don't believe in vaccines because I watched a YouTube video that said,
oh, yeah.
I don't think that so, okay, I'm going to gripe for a second. We've started this Fund My Comic thing, and it has been a bear. A pain in the arse, hasn't it, Ray? You're there for part of the journey. You know a lot of the things that we've gone through, right?
Yeah.
But this is not like, and I remember at one point, you have to stop engaging sometimes with people. You have to be like, I can't keep going on in this cycle of crazy because you're never going to understand, or you don't want to understand. You just want to be contrary. And I really ran into that in one case, particularly where they were talking about how easy it should be to set up the banking for a crowdfunding website. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you pulling my leg? Like, well, yeah, I could build a website and do that right away. I'm like, then for the last 5 years, why the hell haven't you done it? Because it's hard. That's why, because there's a lot of legal and there's a lot of things that have to go into it, you know? And I told someone today, they go like, oh, well, someone said that your site can do that. Like, you can make that happen. I go, yeah, but it all takes coding and hours, which all equates to money and time, you know?
Yeah, people love to talk from the outside.
Yeah.
When they're on the sidelines, they love to give their opinions. What I have found is that when it really comes to the crunch and the rubber meets the road, those people suck the most. Yeah,
they really do.
Yeah, they're the biggest
they really
hypocrites.
do.
It's
I
like
know.
people
It's
who
a
are
lot of
talking
rubber.
about, it could be setting up a crowdfunding campaign, what they think you need to do with your book or whatever. When it comes to launching their own book, if they ever get around to it, they will completely ignore the advice that they gave to you and fail.
Such sound
big
advice.
time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's
they really
so
they really
I
missed
think
the mark.
It's really the quiet ones that know what they're doing. It's just the people taking
Usually, yeah.
action who aren't spouting off constantly. That's the people
A
that you
lot
want
of
to look to
people-
for advice.
A lot of people lack follow through in a lot of different areas, and I find that, like you said, it's the quiet people just working away, by themselves doing their thing. And they have the conviction to get something done. But as someone who's serially procrastinates and stuff like that, I make it like a personal mission of mine to get just. If I want to get something done, I get it done. Right? It's like it becomes a obsession to get it, make sure it's finished.
What's your secret?
Talk is cheap. Talk is very cheap. Action requires not
Dedication.
only an investment, but it also leaves you vulnerable.
Hey, it's almost a tell, by the way. The those who are loudmouthed and really opinionated, I've observed time and time again, they will just self-destruct at some point or disappear.
Yeah.
Right. They kind of destroy themselves at some point, and you can almost see it coming before it happens after a while, just from those
why
characteristics.
Why do you think that is? Because, you've been around. You've been in this thing a little bit longer than I have. I started making comics again in 2015, and that's when I really started getting into the indie comics, kind of the business of it, and not just be a fan or a novice wanting to, with a dream, but really starting to put nuts and bolts to this whole thing.
Yeah,
you've been doing it longer than that. You've had quite a bit of experience in your time. Why do you think that is?
I think it's certainly I've experimented with different things, and I think that's important. Experiment with different things, see what kind of reaction you get. But in general, it's probably better to be a little bit more reserved and to convey some level of professionalism. And people are going to disagree on that and say, well, hey, if you're not more pulverizing, then you're only going to ever have people who like you instead of love or hate you. But so I think the reason that a lot of those more extreme presenters or you could say members of the community self-destruct at some point is because I think what they're doing ends up becoming quite successful very quickly. And that builds upon the already growing ego that they have, and you know that they've got it in the first place because they've got the tenacity to go out there and say the things that they're saying.
Right.
And so their ego grows. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's got an ego. Absolutely. I know I do for sure. But you've got to know when to limit that ego. In other words, you've got to know where your territory is, because if you start to grow beyond that territory, you will put your foot in your mouth at some point and piss someone way bigger than you off, and be ejected from the tribe. That's something that happens, and you can just see that coming for a lot of people out there who do that kind of stuff.
You know, you can now. So I don't think of myself as the old salty sailor by any means. The weathered individual. But I've been in the independent comics sphere, the industry now, for a little while. And even in my short amount of time doing this, I've seen so many people come and go.
Yeah.
So many come and go. And people that I was talking to, engaged with before my nap, when I woke up, they're gone. I have no idea where they went or what they're doing. They've completely disappeared. And then I found out that, they said this or that, and it's so easy for someone to go nuclear, and then
totally,
and because I think they're living this like online persona, that at some point all of that catches up in real life, because it's so hard for people to distinguish that they might be playing a character on Twitter. Like, that's not really them.
Yeah, it's like anyone who gains a ton of popularity, or let's say they become instantly rich or anything like that. They get a lot of power in some way very quickly. It adjusts the psychology, and it would adjust anybody's psychology. So you've got to know yourself really well in order to figure out how to handle it.
Well, speaking of
because
somebody
it can cause you to go kind of nuts.
Yeah, speaking of somebody that got very popular, Tucker Carlson has been let go over at Fox News. And,
really?
I don't know if you heard this or not, but
no.
They're saying that he got let go. In fact, the Jonathan Greenblatt, head of the Anti-Defamation League, praised Fox News' decision, saying that it's about time. He says, for far too long, Carlson has used his primetime show to spew anti-Semitic, racist, xenophobic, and anti-LGBTQ hate to millions. I don't know if that's true. I watched him. I used to like him, but I just can't let my mind be full of all this stuff all the time. To be quite honest with you, I prefer the whimsy of comics, and I'm just too busy drawing stuff. When you do this for a living, like when this is your job, and people are waiting on their art, you do not have time to fuss around with all of this stuff, and just allow it to kind of be a cancer on your brain. But so obviously this is a big hot topic with people. One of the allegations is that he was spreading false information, or that he was saying things that Fox News didn't want him to say, which is very possible. And I don't know that we're ever going to really truly get the truth, because it's not real. Fox News is not real. CNN is not real. In fact, if we look historically back in America, I don't know how familiar you are with this, my Canadian and Australian brethren, and wherever it is that Ray's at in the world. Anyway, you're Australia is where you're originally from, but you're wherever the pterodactyls live.
Yeah,
currently.
I'm in Australia, but I'm not from Australia.
Yeah. South Africa, right? Yes. So I don't know how versed you are in American history, but the first newspapers were actually created as propaganda wings for political parties. And our good friend Alexander Hamilton had a big part to play in that, because he was a master at using writing and propaganda to influence people. And so they just started newspapers, quote unquote newspapers. And they were propaganda wings for different political parties. Nothing has changed. It's been the same ever since they've started. In fact, even people's trust in those propaganda wings has been there from the beginning. It's like, well, they say they're the news. I'm like, yeah, it's not the news. It's an opinion. You know, they're not really. Sometimes they report facts and allow you to make an informed decision, but for the most part, they're spouting out opinions, and they're trying to influence you on how to think. You know, especially when we started going to 24-hour news channels and stuff like that. They've got time to fill, and it's kind of sad. You know, it's just sad how it is. But
got to sell newspapers, right?
Yeah, they got to sell newspapers. So I imagine this is going to be a big deal, and it's going to continue to polarize our country while we're getting into this whole new election cycle here. And unfortunately, as it polarizes our country, it starts to polarize just the community in general, because we're so connected through the internet. And how do you think this is going to affect kind of the fallout from this? You know,
will affect what, the election coming up?
No, how do you think it'll affect our ability to do comics? Or will it? Do you think it'll have no effect, or do you think we'll have this new election cycle and these kind of things that are happening? Do you think it'll have something to do with it?
I mean, if like the more crap that comes out that disassociates people with the real world, the more people will turn to, the surreal, or taking a break and buying a comic, or reading the story. What's the word I'm looking for? Just escaped me. But you get what I mean, though. They're going to take a break from reality, and
you're looking for literally escapist entertainment.
Exactly. Yeah, they're looking for escapism.
Hopefully we'll actually get that.
So.
Speaking of people looking for an escape and not finding one, comic shop owner tackled assault suspect in North Carolina. So Jacob Edwards, owner of the Time Tunnel Comics in Hickory, North Carolina, I got family there, by the way, Hickory, North Carolina, has been reported as helping in the arrest of a 22-year-old Justin Bradley Johnson on a charge. Does that not sound like a Southern name, Justin Bradley Johnson? On a charge of attempted rape. Johnson was charged by local police with one felony count of attempted second-degree rape in connection to an assault in a shopping center. Edwards told the Hickory Daily News that he had closed up Time Tunnel Comics, was in his car about to leave when he saw fellow store owner of Prism Coffee, Nastasia, man, I'm not going to get that right at all, Nastasia Badani, Ness. Ness was running and banging on the door of the comic shop and told him of the assault against an unarmed person. At the store next to her coffee shop, Edwards came to help and subdued Johnson with a chokehold, with him and another friend, Mark Ball, holding down the young man until police arrived. He says, once I let go of the choke, he started to come to. He knocked this dude out and held him in a chokehold. But by that point, we had him on the ground. I'm a man of heroic girth, so I'm just on top of him, and he ain't going anywhere.
Heroic girth.
I'm a man of heroic girth. My favorite quote of all time.
Himself fat? Is that what happened here?
Oh my Lord.
I don't know. But I'm a man of heroic girth. Oh, that is so nice, isn't it?
What the heck is what is second degree rape? I thought there was only one kind of rape.
I I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe it's
Maybe it's like what Louis C.K. did.
maybe, yeah. Just you ain't got to leave, but I'm gonna jerk it.
Yeah.
Right in front of this door so you can't get by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. What a weirdo.
At least he still knows how to make jokes, eh?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it means when there's sexual compulsion because the person is not capable of giving consent.
Oh, okay. So they're knocked out or something.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
so
they're
like, roofied
physically
someone.
incapable of giving consent.
All right. So this man of heroic girth. Man, I love this.
That's going to be how I describe myself from now on, by the way,
Yeah.
as a man of heroic girth.
So if you're a fat daddy, you could just sit on the man. That's what we think.
It's no longer a dad bod, it's heroic girth. I like that.
Yeah, heroic girth. And he goes, I'm still really off about it, and it's days later, so I can't imagine how she feels. I guess the moral of the story is I hope next time it doesn't take knocking on 5 doors before someone will help. Like, help your neighbor, everyone. Look out for everybody. That is my message. So this guy in Hickory, North Carolina.
Unless you're at a gym. If you're at a gym and she needs help, leave it. Just walk away.
So but this guy at Time Tunnel
good
Comics,
point.
Hickory, North Carolina. This guy sells funny books with heroes in the pages all day long. And this guy with his heroic girth did something. That's pretty awesome. I think that's awesome.
Somebody
that's
should make
pretty
a
amazing.
comic book of him.
Yeah, and call it heroic girth. All right, so in SoCal, actor Ray Buffer pleads guilty to comic theft. I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures of this, but Ray Buffer
Stole a comic? Like a
stole a
single-
comic
Am I
book,
the only
yeah.
one that sounds like a porn name?
Ray
Well, it
Buffer.
might be.
Stolen comics?
Yeah. So actor Ray Buffer has pled guilty to 1 count of misdemeanor petty theft, admitted in court that he stole an $854 worth of comics from Southern California Comics on October 4th. So they spotted the theft on the security footage. Owner Jamie Newborn put some stills out on Facebook and quickly heard from another retailer who identified the man as Buffer. Although he denied the theft at first, Buffer was arrested and charged. Newbold turned down Buffer's request to go into a diversion program, which would have required him to pay back the money, but would result in the case being dismissed if he met the terms of the program. And so he didn't want to do that. So Ray Buffer is, what was he in? Does anybody remember what Ray Buffer was in?
No.
I
I've
guess
never
we're gonna
heard
look
of
it
him.
up. Well, let's look it up. Instead of looking for Tucker Carlson, let's find out who Ray Buffer is. I know he was in something that I should know.
Wild Frontier.
Why did
Yeah,
he
this
need
guy
to
looks
steal
familiar.
comic books?
Yeah, why would he need to steal
A comic book thief. Imagine having that on your rap sheet. Sorry, we can't hire you. You stole some comic books once upon a time.
Ray Buffer? This guy looks familiar, doesn't he? The Invisible Pilot, Rats and Bullies,
He has
Bullet
that
Train.
face where you're like, I know that guy, but then you can't put your finger on
Like
from where.
Mike, yeah. Like I don't.
He's like a B actor. That's
What
why
was
it's
Ray
like dumb.
Buffer in? Yeah.
Probably going to watch a movie in the next few weeks and his face will show up and I'll be like, oh, it's that guy.
He's one of those quote
He was
unquote
in Bullet
method
Train.
actors, that never gets seen.
Right. Yeah.
He's just typecast as the block-headed, brick-chinned bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Oh, he was in Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's right. Okay, that's what I remember him from. He was the stage manager. That's right. Okay. Ray Buffer. Ray Buffer.
This is the sort of thing that
Have
kind
they
of crops up
questioned him
every.
yet?
I was
He's
gonna
got
say,
a face of a comic book thief.
Winona Ryder
I
got
mean,
busted in
was he
like
that
the
hard
90s,
up?
though, didn't she?
He could just identify as black and go steal anything in California.
Can you?
What
Why
happened to
not?
Winona Ryder?
I was gonna say, like, this is the type of thing that sort of like pops up every once in a while in like Hollywood, and you kind of scratch your head and go, "Why?" Because, you know, clearly they're not hard up for money. But like Winona Ryder, I think was caught, and this is a number of years ago now, probably
Oh, yeah.
late
Yeah,
'90s,
Yeah, she was
early
stealing
2000s.
clothes when she was still a millionaire. That was hilarious.
Right,
Yeah.
like she got totally busted for it. So just
And I
it's
think she was stealing
puzzling,
it from the thrift store.
right?
Oh my god.
Like it was like a consignment boutique. It wasn't. It was at the time like an expensive one. You know, one of those places you're gonna pay like a couple $100 for what should be a few thousand. But still, like she's a millionaire. She could afford the good stuff if she wanted, and she's acting again. And she was already acting again. That was one of
Right,
the
it
things.
just
That was one
kinda
of the big deals
highlights-
with Stranger Things that they gave her a shot.
They sort of like it becomes more of a compulsion based on the adrenaline rush of trying to
Yeah.
get away with
What
it.
can I get away with?
Right, exactly.
The
Welcome
dopamine
They do
is
the
what
thrill.
happened. She's, she hadn't done a movie. She's, man, I haven't done a movie. I need to score.
Bunny in the chat.
Let's steal some clothes.
And Bunny is in the chat. He said he has been to Time Tunnel, and that's his neck of the woods. So maybe you have met the man of heroic girth.
He says he knows him. He said it's a big dude.
All right. Like, is he big fat or big like trash man big? That's what I want to know.
I think if he was trash man big, you just lock the headlock up and
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if he's got a headlock, I don't know. That just seems weird to me when he's like, I got a headlock, and as soon as I let go, he came to, and I'm like, must not have been much of a headlock.
Ray Buffer versus the heroic girth. I like that.
Heroic girth.
Ray Buffer brought to you.
Definitely a porno waiting to happen.
Why do the old weirdos have my name?
That sounds like something that Eric should draw. The dude who does all the wrestling comics.
Yeah, Eric Hodson.
Dreaded Dino.
Dreaded Dinosaur, yeah.
Do you know what?
My
That's my
fellow
next pickup
reptilian.
line. I'm going to go to the bar and I'll just go up to a lady. Hey, did you know I have been known to have heroic girth?
That's what she said.
In
No, I
Australia,
can't do that anymore. I'll say it to
when I
my
was-
wife, soon to be wife
When I used to
instead.
go to, I don't know, when I used to work at the Gold Coast, man, I mean, people just were like, hey, you want to shag? Yeah? Okay. Let's have a few beers first. And if,
Yeah.
that was it. And if
Are
you're
you on the
like,
Gold Coast?
no,
What a story, Mark.
worked for Boeing up in, what is it? I can't remember that city.
Noosa.
So the
Just
reason why I
that
bring up
story
this,
of a dinosaur's mouth makes it all much better.
the reason why I bring up the, kind of the fakeness that's out there, which kind of causes this, all the fighting and all that kind of stuff that brings up, and then also kind of this kind of strange political climate, is because we've talked about, especially on Nerd Bacon, how some of this has been affecting, and this right here affects us. Graphic novels were first and fourth most challenged books in 2022, according to the American Library Association. So, and it's mostly the LGBTQ books. Genderqueer was marketed to children, and I have pictures of the interiors of that book that if I showed them on YouTube, I would be struck. My channel would be taken down. That's how graphic and inappropriate they are.
Really?
But it literally has a drawing of a boy giving another boy a blowjob.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it nudity?
it's- yes. Yeah. You can see it's got a penis.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh.
Penis in a boy. It tells how to do it. It talks about
And it's
one
a
of
kid's
these
book.
Yeah, it's drawn in a kid's
these
style.
are all
It was-
over all over the kids, where they're talking about like how to bend kids over backwards over the couch, and they wanted to lay some chick
Jesus.
down on the desk in class. I mean, it's bad. There was there's this guy online. It's like on Twitter. He's a black man, but he is a former preacher, and he went into recently, like he does, does now. He's a very big advocate for against LGBT and everything else, and he's trying to raise awareness. And he goes to school meetings, like the school council meetings and everything, and he goes in there and just like screams at him, and he's like, I can't even repeat what is in here. Do you want me? He's like, look at you, you are cringing, and this is not even the worst of what is in this book.
Yeah, there was a dad who just opened the book and started reading it, and they had him escorted out because he was being obscene, And this is the book, and so my wife has this thing. She goes, "There's one thing reading it; it's another thing when you see it or hear it." And so graphic novels and comic books tend to be a little more shocking in their content because you don't just read it; you actually see the images. It's show don't tell. If you're a good sequential artist, it's show don't tell.
What's the story about? Is it about kids?
No, it's about his, him
like underage
exploring his sexual identity, and yeah, I mean I don't think they should not make it.
Promote kids having sex, and what they're doing is it's very, very, very sinister what they are doing. Kids want to have sex, right? You want to have sex. Yeah. You have a weak nuclear accumbens. Your emotional processing is extremely weak. Your PFC, your cognitive processing, is also extremely weak. Or excuse me, your nuclear accumbens is very strong. It's overly formed when you're younger. So you are more prone to emotion. Your neuronic density is very prone to your limbic region. That's why, you feel things. As a kid, you just like, I feel it, and just like, go, right? You're just impulsive because you have less cognitive processing and more emotional processing. That's literally what's going on. And they want you to make a decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life during the most malleable time in your life.
Yeah. So you
can't get a tattoo.
Yeah. That's funny. You can't get a tattoo. You can't vote. You can't drink. But you can get a sex change at age 16.
Oh man!
I mean, some states it's lower than that now. I mean, you see that Washington just passed a law the other day. Like that, Biden passed a law that said that they would hide kids who went to other states to get it done.
What's the term they keep throwing around? Stochastic terrorism? Stochastic terrorism?
Stochastic?
I think it's like they're pushing the line to the point where they want somebody to do something about it, and to further escalate authoritarianism.
I mean, it's on it. Like honestly, this has been done before. This happens in every fall of empire. Like if you study the fall of empires, there's been about 33 of them, and this always happens. When there's a huge divide in wealth and income, when there's a huge divide in political rhetoric, when the people are when that political rhetoric is not only it's not only divided but angry. It's very, very like polarizing, very visceral. That happens every time. And then, like I was saying, like it's inflation. Everything, like it's inflation of inflation of inflation. I was talking to a person about it. I don't know what to call it. You could call it the big cope, I guess. But there's a whole idea of like, what do we do when we have a currency? Well, we spend that currency and we make things until we no longer start making things. We get a little bit slower. And then we got to spend more of the currency to pretend we make things. Right. And that's like a securitization or a marketization of that entire process. But then you spend more of that and more of that and more of that. And you're shorting the currency that you don't have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't remember the year. It was a long time ago. It's not like recent. But there was a rash in our history of a lot of books being banned and even being burnt. They were doing a lot of book burnings. But I always say a burnt book is a bought book, so I'm okay with that too, I guess. And then, not necessarily the burning, but the buying. And then, but apparently, like the epicenter of that was in Boston. And so there were people that were intentionally publishing in Boston for the backlash because of what it would do for their sales. Because it was, all this negative publicity would generate more sales for people that are curious to find out what's in the book, right? And so gender queer, well, a couple things. First off, it says alleged to be sexually explicit. I've seen it. It's sexually explicit. Okay. And like I said, if I showed it, my channel would get struck. I mean,
super sexually explicit.
What's that?
Super sexually explicit.
It is, honestly, because it's the same thing as like porn or anything else in this regard. Because it has a taboo kind of feeling, but it is something they have easy access to, it becomes what we call a supernormal stimulus. A supernormal stimulus is like when you get more of something than requires a go, no-go. Everything in your neuronic complex or simplex really is what they call go, no-go. It goes to a certain, you need a certain amount of exciters, and then it goes. And that thought or that action moves forward into the processing. And so like a supernormal stimulus will do that easier. And so you get the ending like dopamine or oxytocin or vasopressin or whatever that chemical cocktail is that you're looking for quicker, right? And so then what are you going to do? You're going to be like the monkey that pushes the button to give him an orgasm until he dies instead of feeding himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Speaking
it
of
is.
dying,
It is.
I've got to bounce. I've got a client calling.
All right.
Thanks for
man.
having me, guys. You take it easy.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'll
great
see you
having you.
next time.
Thanks for being here.
Good to meet you.
So,
take care.
I mean, not only, it is sexually explicit, but so Genderqueer was not only the most challenged book of 2021 and 2022, but it was also the case of a obscenity charge, all right, in 2022 that did get thrown out. The judge said it was unconstitutional.
Wait, the book?
But the book, no, the charge to call it obscene.
Right.
But I will tell you this: we track on ICB2. We track the graphic novel sales and comic book sales. I pay for the service so that I can look at the actual sales numbers, and we talk about them on Nerd Bacon pretty much regularly. Like that's really what that program is, talking about a lot of this comic book news, a little bit of what we do here, but kind of ramped up. And Genderqueer, I think it was January or February, was in the top 20 graphic novel sales, which is pretty darn good for a book that's, a couple years old, made it up there. And so it made me think when my wife we were having this conversation about censorship. And again, I'm not for censorship. I'm for being responsible and protecting our kids. You can put in the book whatever you want, explicit, obscene, I don't really care. Make whatever you want, but at least have some responsibility not to show that to kids or not to present that as a kid's book, which is what Oni Press did with Genderqueer. But it made me think, well, did they do this? Do they lean into it with the intention that, this is going to cause a stink? And, that's going to help us with book sales. And I would think that they wouldn't use kids. I would hope they wouldn't use kids as a commodity or as a capital for selling their book.
With
going back
just
to what
in
the term
regards
capital
to,
means.
In regards to what you're saying, I'm actually a high school English teacher, and I would definitely argue that they would use kids to not only line their pockets but further the agenda.
Wow.
I deal with the banned book concept a lot, and it's a little bit of rhetoric because when they say, these are the most commonly banned books, usually what it means is a school's removed it from their curriculum. They're approved curriculum for that district. Nothing's stopping a child from bringing in a copy of that book and reading it. However, in a case like this where there's clearly some lines crossed into the pornographic, right? And
yeah.
I've heard the argument. Shakespeare has a lot of dirty jokes in it. Like for those of you who are, familiar, and some might say, well, what's the difference between what he talks about? And
I would argue he was talking about something different with Le Petit Mort, but I understand what people say when they talk about that. I mean, there were a lot of that in different, obviously they couldn't talk about it openly, so they had to hide it everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet is, a common freshman text, and it's pretty filthy in places. Like the innuendo, the just some of the blatant jokes in it. A lot of them go over students' heads if you don't have the courage to explain them. And but it's one of those things where if you actually look at the text, it's quite mature, and it's humor.
Canterbury Tales was really bad.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
know.
So but with something like this, it's really it is for a different purpose. It's not about art, and I think even some of the more obscene comedy found in like Shakespeare or something like that is done in a way to entertain. It's done in a way that could still be for kind of more creative, more pure purposes. This is really it's really kind of a way of I mean in my opinion it's grooming. Like you're trying to change away these young impressionable minds really kind of process these types of things.
I fully agree that it is grooming. I really do.
So what age group is this book aimed at?
Adolescents.
Yeah, it was in Scholastics,
like
which
a teenager.
Like
let's say 16,
10,
11,
13. 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, see, that's kind of messed up. That's kind of messed up.
I'm telling you, it is very pointed. It is very sinister because what they want to do is they want to get in right when your kid is having like you like I said, you're emotionally charged. You don't have the cognitive processing. You don't have the experience to battle. To have any of the sort of mechanisms to cognitively process what you're going to be dealing with. So you're just going to like whatever you see, whatever gives you that chemical feeling. And then they're going to say, oh, well, that means you're gay. Oh, that means you're trans. And then you're going to try to go to a therapist. And the therapists are now legally bound by the state to tell them that they're only allowed to say what the kid says. So they can only enforce that they're trans or gay now. They can't even enforce anymore. They say, oh, no, you're straight, because you do this or that. They can't actually tell them that. If the kid has any inkling at all that they are not straight, they have to enforce it.
I agree. I agree with you, but there's also the added layer with teens that teens are very self-focused. They have this kind of worldview that everyone's looking at them all the time. They have a very me-centered worldview, and they all want to be liked. They all want to feel part of something. They want to feel like they belong.
Yeah,
to
and
something.
that social reward is an immense component of them accepting all of this. I say it all the time. I'm like, you want to tell me that 20%, that literally 373% more conversion rate has happened in the past 40 years of generation? Okay, then I tell you what, remove the social reward, and then I'll believe it. Because you're literally using the trigger by which we influence habit.
Yeah, there's an immense pressure to want to be unique and to also at the same time fit in. So and that's where you get so much variety and while I identify as this or that, and it's really this desire to stand out while also fitting in. It's
the weirdest thing is we don't have as many like beauty pageant moms. We have LGBT moms that are so excited that their kid is gay. I have yet to see one sign where sex ed was held and it was like, I'm so proud my son is straight. But man, if they're gay, they have a parade.
Well, you'll get canceled for that.
Dress, they have candy. Their father runs around.
Look, we're having trouble with this. People are having an issue with Dylan Mulvaney. Obviously, I never heard that name before, and now I just hear that name all the time. And this dude absolutely just gets on my nerves. He's playing woman face. But the problem is we don't talk a lot about his history in the fact that he was a teenager that was being given alcohol illegally by his parents, and he was performing. He was performing burlesque for gay pride parades.
Oh, really?
Like, yes, I read an article about this. That I'm like,
No, I remember, Dylan. I remember when they were poster childing that boy when he was like 9 years old, and they had him going to like these events, these drag events, and putting dollar bills in men's shorts. I remember that, and they were all like, "Oh, he's the most fantastic. Look at him, he's beautiful." And I'm like, let me tell you something. When you take a 7-year-old who will tell you that they are made of green cheese if you give them ice cream, and you instead influence them with sexually explicit and baroque behavior, what do you think's going to happen?
Kids get influenced, man. I remember back in the day, like my parents would be like, "Don't watch Wayne's World," right? And sure enough, you know, we watched it anyways when we were much younger, and then we started to, like my brother and I, emulate the movie, right? The different things that, you know, the characters
showing.
Exactly. And you're hella like influential as a kid. Like you just pick up everything, no matter what it is.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
and I think,
extremely malleable. You're just a sponge, and like I said, you don't have the experience or cognitive processing to combat the sort of like, should I be doing this? And so you just accept it. Not only that, but we have some, like I've told you guys before, like we have sort of the way that we think is sort of like a computer. We have, and you know, Aristotle and Socrates talked about this, where they said, like, if you have a desk, it has deskness, right? Okay, well, if they think sexness is gay because that's the first sex they're attributed to, guess what they think of when they think of sex?
Yep. They think of that.
Yeah,
So
it is a crazy world, because when I was growing up, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first porno magazine, man, I saw, I was pretty young. My buddy just pulled it out, and I was like, oh, cool. You know? So yeah, I mean, we were all teenagers once. We were all kids, and you know, this shit was just laying around. It was in newsagents, and you know, you'd sneak to the back, and you and your buddy would be looking at the magazines, and
It wasn't
I
in
guess
the high school library, though.
Yeah, exactly. But you still had access to it in one way or another, because you would find it, because that's,
What was it? Somebody's
you know,
dead, like
it's
sock
hormones,
drawer or
man,
something.
that going out of control. So, but the thing is that when you would look at that content, it was warping your brain a little bit, but still down the road of, you could say, a more of a heterosexual, typical sexual relationship. Whereas now I can only imagine, with so much variety, kids must be
Well, yeah, I mean,
so
that's the whole thing with
confused
the
and
internet
going in
and
all different
porn
sorts
and
of
everything.
directions,
It's an
especially with the
absolute
internet.
super normal
Instant
stimulus.
access to this stuff, you know?
Oh yeah, like I said, it's all a super normal stimulus, and your brain isn't even. You're not equipped. Like the more information you get, the worse decisions you'll make.
We have a number of people that have been. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I apologize. I was just going to add kind of a thought about all this. Is another thing I see is, like, especially with young males, we've kind of ingrained in them that any type of masculinity is toxic. So their natural desires, especially as a young man, for their sexual attraction to females, that's wrong. That's, you're objectifying them, or those are toxic traits, things like that. And I just see a lot of shame in young men today, and it's kind of interesting to me how that sort of has created this very confused generation of young men as well, at least in my observations.
Yeah. Well, so I agree. Now, we work in a very visual medium. And for a long time, comic books were always seen as obscene because they're for kids. They've gotten very, very much adult-oriented. But still, I think the majority consensus is that comic books are for kids. A lot of people think that. I was at a comic book convention, And I asked a guy, I'm sitting there, I've got all my comic books up, I've got my banners behind me, I've got my shirt with my comic book name on it. And I said, do you like comic books? He goes, well, I used to when I was a kid. And I was like, well, why don't you now? He goes, because I grew up. I'm like, just because you grew up doesn't mean you have to stop liking comic books. You realize that most comic books are actually written for adults now? Well, no, I didn't realize that. Like, yeah, most of them are actually written for adults. Very few of them are actually written for kids these days. But it's still this conception that if it's comic books for kids, and a lot of comic book writers and artists particularly have gotten pushback because of the way they depict women in comic books. It's like, oh, well, you're over-sexualizing things or whatever. Where are her organs and so on and so forth. But what we're talking about is something that goes well beyond all of that. And this is showing actual sex acts in a very cartoony style. It's wrong. And if there's been people in the past, recent past, that have been like, all of this is an agenda to legalize pedophilia. And you would think that they were nuts. You would think that they were nuts if this hadn't come out, a week ago? The United Nations International Committee of Jurists, the ICJ, has unveiled a new set of proposals for legal principles that would include the decriminalization of pedophilia and abolish regulations on age consent for sex.
What?
The so-called March 8 principles, which were released on International Women's Day, set out a human rights-based approach to laws that criminalize behavior related to sex, drug use, sexual and reproductive health, homelessness, and poverty. The Geneva-based International Commission of Jurists wrote, with the assistance of UNAIDS and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights, this is what they wrote, with respect to the enforcement of criminal law and prescribed minimum age of consent to sex must be applied in a non-discriminatory manner. Enforcement may not be linked to the sex or sex/gender of participants or age of consent to marriage. Moreover, sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual, in fact, if not in law. In this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of persons under 18 years of age to make decisions about engaging in consensual sexual conduct and their rights to be heard in matters concerning them. So they are saying a child can consent to sex. And if they consent to that sex, you can't bring criminal charges on the adult.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah,
that was the thing. I posted that earlier in the week, and
That
I'm
was
like,
coming.
and everybody said that this wasn't gonna, that it wasn't a slippery slope. Remember, there was no slippery slope.
Never is.
It's been
Right.
coming for a while, man.
The report continues, pursuant to their evolving capacities and progressive autonomy. Okay? Again, they can't vote, they can't drink, they can't smoke, but they can now consent to sex, and they can consent to having a sex change. They can't even get a mother effing tattoo. They legally are not allowed to get a tattoo because they cognitively cannot make that kind of decision. But they can cut off their sex organs. Right? Pursuant to their evolving capacities and progressive autonomy, persons under 18 years of age should participate in decisions affecting them with due regard to their age, maturity, and best interest, and with specific attention to non-discrimination guarantees. They're saying, look, these kids can consent.
Yeah, that's so. Luke, I think about the Bible in these times, and how there were times in the Bible when the good dear Lord decided to smite humanity because it just got too damn rotten.
Have
We're
you
due for
seen
another
the
flood, my
GIF
friend.
It's
of,
times like these where I go, man.
Have you seen the GIF of like Matthew McConaughey looking like Noah, but he's smoking a cigarette? And he's like flooded again.
Like, I feel like if
Bring the asteroid.
if I was looking down at my creations, seeing them mutilate themselves and do all this weird perverted stuff, I don't know, man. I kind of want to just start again.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but
I know he promised. I know he did. So that's why I think he's letting it get this far.
Oddly enough, he promised, and the sign of his promise was a rainbow, and
Yeah.
they have hijacked the rainbow.
Well, yeah, that's kind of on purpose. I think they
is.
want to repurpose.
Isn't that a communist thing?
A communist thing to repurpose symbols.
No, the rainbow itself is a communist thing. I can't remember the exact deal, but one of my friends, Ashiro Finney, is real big into this, into discussing and grabbing onto this kind of thing because he really hates socialism and communism. And he told me, we were talking about it one day, and he's like, yeah, he's like, that's just an appropriation of a communist symbol. I was like, what?
What did the postmodernists use? Like, if you go back further, based, French socialism.
That is a very vague descriptive.
Well, I mean, it's the same sort of collectivist ideology through the ages, right? Just building.
I mean, they, like, a lot of people have adopted postmodernist. Postmodernist is an ideal, as they was the oh god, this was like 1960s bad French philosophy that was just supposed to be that you could become more than you were born to be. That's all it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like an answer to feudalism and that kind of thing. And it became something incredibly different when a whole bunch of stupid people got a hold of it.
Oh,
they've been trying to describe pedophiles have been like for a while trying to like relabel themselves as like the abbreviation MAPS, like minor attracted persons and things like that, to try and I guess soften the stigma behind it. I don't know that really does that.
There's a whole TED talk on how it is a sexual orientation. In fact, you can Google it, and we just won't get into that tonight, but because we're a visual medium and the graphic novels have been what have been really attacked, number 1 and number 4 on the list of books that are being censorship attempts are going over. And so for a person like me who's anti-censorship but pro protecting our kids, I kind of get caught in the crosshairs with this, because I do think, and I work with a guy named Randy Zimmerman, obviously with Arrow Comics, who does some very fun, like childlike, whimsical stuff, but at the same time, he was the first person to put, 2 monkeys nestled between two big boobs in the cleavage on a cover, in Wizard magazine. And so, so he has very adult things at the same time, but he is, along with me, like in this mindset that the publisher needs to have some responsibility to protect children from these things, that you should make it. You should just not make it. You should not market it to kids. That's adults only, let's have some responsibility with that.
Yeah, humans need some boundaries.
Yeah, we really do. And unfortunately, they're trying to remove those boundaries. And Buddy, you said it very well, that they are trying to make the very first sexual experience they have, they're trying to imprint on that to kids. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, well, they want it to be the prime factorum. They want it to be the root from which all their other beliefs on that grow. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, and again, like I would even like if you want to show them that first or whatever, okay. The biggest thing really, like psychiatrically, psychologically, whatever you say, and neuroscientifically, is the reward system. When you give them a reward for that, you literally change their chemistry, their actual like reward chemistry changes based on that. And that's the biggest problem for me is like, okay, if you want to call this natural, uninfluenced, and definitively normal, you cannot affect it with reward.
True. Because it sullies it right away.
But it's a lie.
Yeah.
When you make a habit, you have to consciously go against yourself. You have cue, craving, response, reward. Like if you don't want to work out and you start to work out, is it something that comes easy for you? Or do you actually have to think about it all the time? They call it urge surfing.
I think this complicates, though, our work in this visual medium of comics. Even moving forward, it's going to be harder for us to get our content in the hands of people and of kids specifically. Especially if you have a book that is, teen or all ages. I think it's going to make it a little more difficult for us because now parents are going to be more, because of all of this, they're going to be more vigilant and probably less likely.
You brought up a good point before. So back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you had the image guys drawing these really over-sexualized women, and you could say the same thing about the guys if you would say that a sexualized male is super buff, broad shoulders, chiseled jaw, etc. And these were aimed at teenagers, and teenagers loved it. So,
I did. Yeah.
So, and there was erotic adult comic books around at the time that kids could also get their hands on if they were really trying to, or they came across it accidentally. And I mean, kids are curious. They're going to check it out, and they're probably going to laugh at it, or they're going to dig it.
We had that section in our comic shop.
Yeah, right. You would have had that section at your comic shop. The question is, though, is it because it's the changing times of the culture that it is now wrong? Because we have detoured away from what would be called conventional and done the opposite of everything, and started to navigate toward a direction that is everything but normal. And is that the problem? Is that really the issue? Because this adult content has always been around, and kids have always been able to access it in one way or another. But
the difference is
it is being immoral about it.
Is being placed in institutions of authority and trust. That's the difference. When you place schools, something and you put it in a school, the kid thinks it's okay. When you place something and you put it in a library, the kid thinks it's okay. When you have something you have a drag show and the parents take you, the kid thinks it's okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't take a kid to the strippers, just the regular old strippers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
so when I was a kid, I remember that
Hooters, and I'm like, that's wrong too.
So when I was a kid, I remember reading like Heavy Metal magazine. I talked about this a little while ago. But that's not something I would find in school. It wasn't. It was something that wouldn't have showed my parents if I oh look, there's tits in this magazine.
That was always a fun discovery.
But it was earlier they discussed I think it was Randy. It was saying the publisher versus the store clerk. Like the store clerk doesn't always read it, right? And they're trying to punish these guys, but they should be punishing the publishers, right?
Right.
Because the publisher is the ones pushing it for schools, and like I said, you wouldn't find Heavy Metal magazine in a school. It just
they need to categorize it as adults. That's the big problem here.
Yeah, change it. You change it. Stop giving, like I said, stop socially rewarding, that kind of thing. And then you're saying okay, this is different This is not what you're supposed to have. This is not what's supposed to be widely available. Like, if you want to have the book available, put it under. Then I would do this. Like, if you have to have it, if the school's like, we have to have this available. Okay, this is what you do. If you, as a like, again, because this is the other thing, is like, as a teacher, if they are telling them, they're like, I'll have a special conference with you to tell you that you're gay. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So, what you would do is you say, look, if my kid has questions, you tell them to come to me. And if they want to see that book and it's available, you put it on your library. Give the parents a code so that they can find it there and they can look at it with their.
So, here is really what surprises me, though. The same people that complained about the over-sexualization of women in comic books in the 90s have taken over the industry and have desexualized the women in comics to the point of some of them are just grotesque now. But those same people are praising a book that shows one boy giving another boy fellatio.
The sexualization of minor boys.
It's like I'm taking crazy pills over here. It's
No, I mean, they don't want they don't want egalitarianism. They want revenge. In their eyes, you forced them to look at hetero stuff, and you forced all these people into hetero stuff, and they were really all gay, So now they're gonna shove it in your face.
Sometimes it's the blue hairs that do this, not the old blue hairs, the new blue hairs. The patchouli smelling, granola eating feminists. Those ladies that are, and I don't have a problem with. I used to be considered a feminist. Not this new feminism.
Till it all
like maybe
changed.
Third way. Yeah, it all changed. Everything changed, right? I raise a very strong, powerful daughter. She knows how to shoot a gun. She knows how to kick butt. And she knows how to speak her mind.
Nice.
That's what I wanted to raise, was a strong woman, And even, if she would, right now, she had to stop telling people that she wanted to be a housewife because she would get relentlessly bashed for wanting to do that. For wanting to be a wife and a mother. And I'm like, wow, we are taking crazy pills. This is insane, kind of where we're at.
Well, being a wife and a mother, especially a stay-at-home mom, now is seen as a detriment. Like, you're like, why would you do that? Oh my God, that's horrible. Is he imprisoning you? Blink twice. Let us know you're okay.
Yeah, but
it's Stockholm syndrome.
It is turning around, though. It is turning around from what I've been seeing. There's been some good signs out there. Obviously, this whole book situation is not a good sign. But then again, there has been a new movement of I forget what they have been referred to as, but mums who are stay at home, looking after the family, taking care of the cooking and the cleaning, and they're making these TikToks and they're blowing up on social media.
The trad wife.
Yeah, that's it. The trad wife movement. And it has come in as this new trend. And of course, it's causing a stir in the LGBTQ community. But it's really interesting that has emerged. And I got to tell you, in terms of pop culture, I've also been seeing some pretty damn good TV series and movies, comic books.
I do think entertainment is beginning to turn around very
I feel like
slowly.
it's turning around. Yeah.
Because they lost
I feel like in
so much money.
I do feel like in general there is some hit back now toward LGBT a little bit more than what we had seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just because the entertainment industry as a whole has realized that they're losing way too much money and they need to start making it again. but there seems to be a little bit of a turnaround happening, and I feel like almost
You
that
saw that whole thing
in the
with,
next
with
few years it might swing back the other way. I'm hoping.
Well,
Yeah,
my
it could.
my
I mean, you saw how
opinion
much
on
money
this.
Amazon lost with Rings of Power.
Yeah. Well, my opinion on this is that
Amazon
it's-
Plus
it's-
has so much good stuff, though. That's what
They
I've
really do.
discovered. It's just
Yeah,
you hear
Rings
about
is
Rings of
good.
Power, and it's like, what the heck?
Yeah,
But
what's
then
that?
I
I've
like
been on
Reacher,
Amazon.
The List
Some
is
great
really
stuff.
good.
My
Watching
opinion on
Bosch at
this
the
is my opinion of this is that it's not an anti-LGBTQ thing, because I know plenty of people that are LGBT that are reasonable people. Like, they've got a brain and they're reasonable, and they understand that there is an extremist element that is going well beyond where they ever intended to go. Right now, to be a gay man that is only interested in biologically gay men is as bad as being a straight man to these people. I mean, they are, it's there is a group that's out there, and I mean, shall we call them the alphabet mafia, because that's how they act, that there is a significant portion of the LGBT community that is not on board with that loud militant group that is pushing these agendas. And I think you're starting to see some of that move back in the other direction. And it's funny that we would say the trad wife is a new trend, considering that had been, like the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's really all that you had was that. That was kind of the norm. But I do see some good. So people talk about the red pill versus the blue pill, and we need to take the black pill. Well, I'm kind of with Literature Devil on this when he says we need to take the white pill, because there is hope, and I do see that entertainment is starting to reflect some of those things. I think that we in the Iron Age of comic books has an opportunity to change some of the narrative and to offer escapism that presents people of faith with a different with maybe a different viewpoint than what is being that has been traditionally over the course of the last decade or two been shown, that has the ability to show heterosexual and homosexual couples in a different light than these caricatures that you see in a lot of the mainstream stuff. And just when you see how universally people are upset by Disney's race swapping for everything,
it's
right?
So bad.
Yeah, people are just like, this is terrible. Like, why do we have to do that? And there are so many reasonable voices out there that get drowned out by the extremist on either side, on the left and the right, that I think we're starting to hear more of those voices come through, because people are starting to just click off those other loud voices a little bit.
That's the thing. It's if you've got a movie that features a story about two men who are massively gay for one another, and it's really well told, great. But I think the problem is a lot of this stuff feels super forced, and you can see that they're just jamming it in there for the sake of it, of really getting that point across that it's there and in your face. And somewhere along the line, they forgot that, well, people don't watch movies for propaganda. They watch movies for story, character development, and to be, engaged within a world other than their own that is convincing. And when you try to push this stuff in an unnatural way, it reminds them that they're just sitting in reality watching something that's trying to jam an agenda down their throat for some reason or another. Whether it's to change the culture by force or whatever it is to make money in some other way. Who knows what the heck the name of the game is for this particular movement that we're seeing in the modern day over the last decade or so. But I think that if they got back to good storytelling and
bingo,
character development, they'd probably be able to make much more of an effective play at whatever outcome it is they're trying to achieve here. They would get gay widely accepted and trans and all this other stuff, but it's got to be a really solid and good story, especially because it's outside the norm, especially because it's something new. That's when you have to suspend disbelief the most.
Yeah, to your point about like kind of cramming it in and enforcing the agenda thing, I was actually kind of debating. Again, English teacher, really excited. I saw National Geographic was putting out a sort of dramatization, but like a story about the Frank family, specifically one of their helpers, Anne Frank. I'm speaking of the her and her family, and I consider myself kind of an expert on this. I've taught this book, The Diary of a Young Girl, several years in a row now. I've probably spent hundreds, if not, thousands of hours kind of studying this family and going. This kind of ties in with the feminism piece, but they take this woman, Meep, who was one of multiple helpers that helped to hide the Frank, the Van Pels and families, and then Fritz Pfeffer. But and it kind of places her on this weird pedestal. Like it shows her and her husband arguing, like debating the risk reward, and she's like unapologetically, yes, we should hide them, and he's like, no, we're gonna get in trouble. And I've seen nothing as far as documentation that there was ever such a in fact, everything Meep herself before she passed away in 2012 had said like they were just adamant about doing whatever they could to help this family. The music in the background is like take my hand, I'll lead the way, and it's highlighting this woman, and it's just blatantly obvious. Like I'm watching it and I'm just like my jaw's hitting the floor. It shows Meep showing the Franks the secret annex and explaining to them what it is for the first time, and I'm like, they all knew it was there because it was one of the other helpers' laboratory where he experimented with like their food products and things of that nature. So like I'm sitting there and I commented, and it was funny. I actually got shredded a little bit because I'm like, this is garbage. Like I don't think she would agree with you taking her and then twisting it to fit what happened to fit this 2023 lens. And I felt it was really wrong. And then people are like, oh, like what really happened, and it was just blatantly obvious.
You're a man. Why do you talk?
Right, yeah, you're a white guy.
You have no room to talk.
But it was so horribly offensive to me, especially within the context of the situation, because you had multiple. I mean, Johannes Kleiman, Victor Kugler, Jan and Meep. You have Bep and Bep Voskill and her father. Like they all knew they were there. They all helped in a variety of ways. And they all did their part, and they all put themselves at great personal risk to do that. And now you kind of take this neo-feminist view of one of them and, try and make this mockumentary that's kind of like just blatant propaganda. It was very, very offensive to me. But on that note, I'll excuse myself, guys. Thanks for having me in here. I have to take off, but I appreciate the chat and allowing me to contribute.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Matt. Anytime. Welcome back anytime. So Blue Teddy is one of our younger viewers, and she says that most young guys don't want to stay at home wife either, though, and it's considered lazy by the younger generations. I understand that to be fairly true. My daughter's 20 years old. I understand that.
I understand that, but they don't even think having kids. They think having kids in general is like a bad thing. Like, why should they have kids at all?
What you want to do versus what you are told you can do is a different thing. If all you're told you can ever do is be a wife and a mother, well, I don't agree with that either. But if you're told that wanting to be a wife and a mother only is a bad thing, well, then I disagree with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to choose what it is that you want to do with your life going forward. Today,
Well, I just think you should reward both equally. Okay, like
Right,
you want to have kids, awesome, have kids, have 10, have whatever. If you want to be a mom and have kids, I think that's great. That should not be looked at all. There should not be a second of somebody being derogatory toward that.
today I saw a mom on the corner asking for assistance, right? But she was not panhandling like most people do. She had her violin. It was electric violin. She had it plugged into a battery-powered amplifier and had music playing. And she was playing her violin with music for money. She was busking, basically, with her child there with her because she was a single mom. And she had to watch her kid, but she also needed money to buy food for that kid. Guess what? She got tipped today because the initiative and the drive and just the tenacity of this woman was inspiring. And to me, I think that's what this new wave of feminism misses. And especially when you start to tell me that, well, that biological man is a woman. Dylan Mulvaney doesn't deserve these sponsorships that woman does. That woman deserves the sponsorships, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I want to agree with everything you guys say, but I'm over here in Canadian, whatever.
Oh, you're in soon to be authoritarian fascist land.
You keep going to these topics. I'm I have 1,000 points.
Didn't they literally just make it illegal to have a dissenting opinion?
I don't know, man. I'm just sitting here just waiting for the SWAT team to come tumbling through the doorway.
Really?
Right? Oh yeah, they just made it illegal to have a dissenting opinion in public. You cannot dissent
really?
in public. Yeah, it's
You've
illegal.
got to be kidding me.
No.
Well, I mean, on this particular topic, I think in certain places within certain meters of certain properties or something, or I don't know. Man,
It's basically telling you have to agree with the crazy, or you're going to go to jail. Straight to jail.
I don't have a voice. Yeah, straight to jail.
Speaking of that, we'll show that here in a second, but we're going to change topics for a little bit, and then we'll probably ended up here in about 15 or 20. But I want to go ahead and play this trailer because we have a campaign going live tomorrow night, I believe it is, or Friday night, going live on Michael Bancroft's show. And it is a Fund My Comic exclusive. Guys, check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong trailer. Sorry, wrong trailer. Wrong trailer. That's not the one that's going live. This is the Oh, darn. I am booming it up over here, guys. I do apologize. You'll have to forgive me. Or you can not forgive me, and that'll be fine too.
You're doing great, Luke.
I'm doing great. It's this one right here. Here we go.
It's a hard job. Somebody's got to do it.
Right.
Raid of the White Leopard is the story of a band of Viking raiders who get caught up in a storm and wash up on a mysterious island. Written by Edwin Acevedo, creator of The Ace, with art by Avery Butterworth from The Lost Pages. Letters by SK. Back it on fundmycomic.com.
Back
Okay.
and Fund My Comic.
That is.
This guy sounds like typo negative, but I have no idea what he's saying.
That book is that's something I do want to check out myself when I have the shekels to actually put money down in some. I love Vikings.
Scratch. Get that scratch to do it. Blue Teddy says that kind of depends. There are definitely some people that are legitimately anti-kids, but most people just say it as a meme because they don't think that they can afford kids anyway, and that breaks my heart.
I've
But
actually
again,
encountered
that
people
is
that are
propaganda
anti-kids.
that people tell you because the you know what most people say, like if you read about kids or anything else, is you're never ready for kids. You're never going to be ready. You know,
There's
and there's
a
all these like TikToks. There's a whole thing about it where like these 30 plus year old women that are like, I went and I tried to become more ready for, you know, I tried to become more wealthy and more intelligent and more emotionally available and all this other kind of crap, right? And they're like, I'm not ready. And everybody's like, you're never going to be ready.
Well, the truth is, we have seen a dip in sales on comic books, especially in the crowdfunding area, unless they're not safe for work. Boob books still do very
Really?
well.
Are you serious? Sweet, I'm going to put more boobs in my comic books.
Yeah, boob books are still doing quite well. But for
Well, I
the
mean,
most
look at,
part, they're
what's his
struggling.
name? Bill, was it Polito?
Yeah. Maybe, I suppose.
What did Polito do?
Polito, I mean, he regularly pulls like 150K on those like Death Lady or whatever the heck that thing is.
Oh, yeah.
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 Lady Death, yeah.
I respect that guy a lot.
I really do, yeah.
Just does his own thing.
Stays out of trouble. But no,
Just
I'm
work.
serious though. For the most part, comic books are struggling. I was looking at numbers even within the CG community where we track. We're not doing as well as what we did last year at this time. Some campaigns are doing very well. Some are doing better than expected. But some that I expected to do really large numbers are doing about half of what I had predicted.
Well, when did there were a bunch of large YouTubers and stuff that were throwing out comic books last year, weren't there? Like Eric Julie or whatever his name is.
Eric July did, yeah. But I mean, even in general, like
I had to almost stop myself from laughing. Eric Julie, that was funny.
Sorry.
It's spelled the same.
I know.
Kind of.
I just think it's funny.
Yeah, it's the
I've actually
Canadian.
never heard
in
it pronounced. Yeah, the other way.
Young Rippa.
That's
But
all.
no,
That's all I ever know. Like it's.
Yeah, but I mean, it's you know, and then people is like, oh well, you're not marketing hard enough, or they'll give 1,000,001 reasons why people aren't, but the economy definitely has a play in it. We know that there's less discretionary spending. I've bought less books this year than what I normally do.
That's
I just can't afford
true.
it.
But people who really want something will find the money to pay for it.
Mhm.
So I think it's just encourages creators to create something even more awesome, because CG's been around for a while now. It hit its peak, and now it's evolved into, I think, sections of creators or even individual creators who are just going to get more backers on board because of them, the creator. So you're not just going to get backers because you're part of CG anymore. You're going to get backers because of you yourself and the comic book that you're creating. So there's more competition that's come into the game as well. Now, money might be tight, but people still spend their money on crap that they don't need, video games, and like imagine the point people need to get to not be able to buy a comic book.
I don't think it's that far because
I don't know, man. If I see a really good comic book that looks good, I'm gonna buy it.
But you already love comic books.
Yeah. Are you saving
What
for
you're
something?
really wanting when you want to get more people, like you're having a diffusion of the actual audience. When you want to get you're slicing that pie thinner, right? So what you got to do in order to get more people is like what Nintendo did with the Wii and the and sort of active things is they couldn't compete with Sega and PlayStation on the graphics and the processor anymore. So they went different. They said, okay, we're not going to take the same slice of pie. We're going to make the pie bigger. So you'd have to make the pie bigger. There's a lot more people to reach, but how are you going to reach those people? Because you got a comic book, right? You got a comic book. It gives what 20-minute experience. If you get 100 pages, you get maybe an hour experience. So you have an hour experience. You're going to pay $50 for plus the shipping, everything else. Okay, so we got all of that composed of, like you're saying, a video game. A video game gives on average for $70 70 hours of experience.
Yeah.
Most of them.
But that's the thing, right? They're still
$100,
finding the money to buy that video game. So it's
But-
it's not a
but
money
you're seeing
thing.
a lot more.
It's a
is.
perceived
It's what
value
calls
thing.
you-
Well, I think it's a combination of both points because during the Great Depression, you had people that were, just completely destitute, but they still found money for escapism. They found money for booze and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
But there were still people starving to death that couldn't afford anything. You still had your extreme poverty and so on and so forth. And we see
Per
that now.
piece, the inflationary response of comic books and entertainment compared to what it was in the 1903, 1913 and 1920s, which was the fall and rise of the American Empire. It was the fall of the German Empire and the rise of the American Empire because of what had happened in the wars, and America was still the only gold-backed currency at the time, and that brought everybody from every other country to us to borrow, and we were creating a lot of stuff and not having a surplus of default. So when all that was going on, we were able to create at an extremely low rate because we were still using inflationary money from other countries. So because of that, what were the comic books? The comics books were like a penny, five pennies. They were some of our lowest denominations that we had possible. Okay, so what are they now? They're like $4 or $5. That's a different amount for someone to. And then you're talking about indie comics. It's twice that, 3 times that, 4 times that, 5 times that. So you're talking about somebody, they have to have a lot more impulsivity before they buy something like that because the opportunity cost is higher.
Well, it's positioning, right? So comic books were perceived as cheap back then. But I think one of the best things that Ethan Van Sciver did when he really started making it big in Comicsgate is that he reframed comic books. He said, listen, you're not just getting a comic book here. This isn't just something that a store-bought comic book is going to give you. Okay, this is a different experience. And so I think taking that thread and then building upon it as you yourself, the creator, what's important is that, yeah, there's going to be saturation, of course. You know what? If you think things are bad now, even more creators, independent, are about to jump on board. They might sell their comic books for cheaper to get a bit of an edge over everybody else too. They might lower their prices. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's going to happen regardless. And you will either win or you will fail. So
yeah.
Well,
it's going to
my
take
point.
its course. You've got to be the best. Be the best and fuck the rest.
Yeah,
sorry,
here's
I
my
didn't mean to
point.
swear on your stream,
no, that's all right.
but
you can do that here. But
you've got to be better than everybody else.
Yeah, but
and
here's my
embrace the
point.
competition.
Offer something
Yes.
that no one else offers.
Okay, I'm going to make a point now.
I have to add on to that a little bit later after you're done.
Okay, so art is incredibly subjective, right? So better is a subjective term. It's completely subjective. We are not only fighting for an economy of dollars; it's an economy of time these days as well. We're fighting for attention, is what we're doing. Now, people, when I say discretionary funds are down, what that means, if I'm going to buy comic books, I'm still going to buy comic books. It means I'm going to buy less comic books. So I'm more selective of the ones that I spend my money on.
You're going to buy what you already know.
Totally.
I'm going to buy what I know and what I like, and I'm going to be less likely to take a chance on a new IP or on a new creator that I've never heard of before. So people that already have the economy of attention, they're more likely to maintain their sales to what it is.
That's the real economy.
That's the real economy. So right now, anyone that is mid to low level that's trying to build the audience, trying to get the economy of attention so that they can maintain their sales, they're like, so if you have $5 to spend on a book and it's between my book and Ethan Van Sciver's book, you're probably going to buy Ethan's book. I understand that. Because because you could be like, well, he's better, but that's subjective, right? I know people that they don't like his stuff. I'm a fan, but some people don't like his writing. They don't like his art. The people that say they don't like his art, I think they're insane. I don't know. How could they not?
Well, there's objective good too. I mean, that's why we learn about proportions and anatomy and perspective and that kind of stuff, because even an average Joe or Jane can tell when something has whack anatomy or is drawn out of perspective. So
True. Yeah. And then there's the the quality of the print and how it's sent and all of those kind of things play a factor into it. But that all comes down to I have less economy of dollars to spend. So it's who has my attention is the ones that wind up getting my dollars.
Big time.
And so that's really what we're dealing with here. And so we're seeing that I think across the board with comic books in general. And definitely I'm seeing it within even the Comicsgate kind of sector. But having said that, I agree with Buddy in the sense that we need to make the pie bigger because so we need to find ways to get out there and engage with more people. And again, the internet, it's not real, guys. Like, people get upset about the internet. Really, I could be telling you and be very passionate about a thought or opinion, and I could get off of here and I don't believe any of that stuff. You don't know.
Well, I mean, capitalism, money is not currency, people are.
Yeah, true.
Well, the new business it's not about corporations anymore. It's about personal branding, and that's why Ethan has done so well and continues to do well. And so that's really what everyone should be. Exactly. Eric July, he had a massively successful comic book, but he could have sold anything. He could have sold a new sneaker. He could have sold an action figure, whatever. And so that's the real name of the game here.
Well,
instead of thinking of yourself as just trying to get sales for your comic book.
Exactly.
You're your business. You're the selling point. Now
you're
you
selling
can sell
yourself.
anything you want. You can pivot. That's great because now you can pivot into, if you want to just decide to move on from comic books, Luke, and move into movies and start a crowdfunding campaign for that, and you built a massive audience for yourself, your business,
you can do whatever you want.
That can be successful too. And so it's about.
I mean, that's always been true. Like, what is, even stockbrokers, what did they take with them when they changed houses? Clients, their client list. They brought their own connections. They brought their own networks. If you had networks and connections to the rest of the banks and you could pull in $100,000 a day, well, you were the guy or girl.
So Eric July has 425,000 subscribers. I think he has somewhere in that ballpark, and he had 5,000 backers. So he had roughly 10% of his viewing audience backed him, which sounds exactly like what my marketing professor taught me. Create a mailing list. 10% of your mailing list will buy your product. That's marketing 101. Build a large audience because 10% will be engaged enough to buy the product. If you're lucky, that's the basic statistic. And people freaked out that he did so well. There was no doubt in my mind that he was going to have that many supporters, because he got 10% of his audience. And so that is that economy of attention. That's what we've got to go for, right?
Totally. And it's great because, if it was a comic book economy that we were talking about here, we would be at a greater disadvantage, but it's not. People are spending way more time on their phone and their computer than they spend in a comic book shop. And so they're on YouTube, stuck on YouTube, watching people like us all day.
Yeah.
Ideally, it would be us. But we've got to build that personal brand. We've got to and if Mr. Beast did it, if PewDiePie did it, these are just other human beings who thought of an idea and executed on it and kept up with their consistency. It's possible for any one of us to be able to get that big. Certainly as big as Eric July or even Van Sciver.
I think that's a misnomer. I think you do have to understand. You got to understand too.
It's
that,
not.
A lot
it's
of
definitely possible.
Yes, it is because it's possible if you don't have a job.
Right.
I work 60 hours a week. Tell me I can do that.
So
look, it's not possible if you don't have a personality.
I mean, there's always going to be excuses.
Okay, but it comes down to personality.
I tell you what, bro. You pay my $110,000, and I'll go be a comic book guy.
Okay, guess what? You're going to let working get in the way, and I'll just overtake you.
Yes, because it pays for my family right now.
You're at a disadvantage.
It's a balance between time, availability, and passion.
For sure. But at the same time,
Can I have a question?
I will beat you because of it.
Advocate.
And so what can you do?
So the devil's advocate here is like you're looking at the popularity of the individuals selling the product, right? Well, how often do people, or the general consensus of people, or the common man or layman, know the name of the people that created Nintendo? I guarantee you they don't.
No, most of
they
them
know
don't.
the characters.
I think
they know the brand.
Oh, it's a lot of work. It is.
Yeah.
I get that. I get what you're saying, buddy. I really do. It just comes down to how obsessed you are with making whatever it is you want to make successful. Because people think that they have their idea of working hard enough isn't actually close to working hard enough.
Yeah.
It's very far off to what they could do.
No, I mean I get
I
what
do
you're
agree
saying.
with that,
Like,
yeah.
you know, you could build like, you know, if you build a studio and you go in there every day and you're in there 3-4 times a day and you're, you know, always, even like on Twitch and everything, you know, all these guys have they have classes, and all their classes basically break down to the same thing: A, B, C, always be casting. You know, always be streaming, ABS, right? Because always be selling with that old Alec Baldwin thing. And it's just like, okay, you're always selling yourself for streaming, right? You're always getting in front of people. And why is that a big thing? It's a big thing, again, because the diffusion of marketing principle of business and economics, which is what you say, is that people need to see you an average of, I think it's like 13 times. And when they see you 13 times, the 13 people become early adapters. And then those early adapters become the 14%. That it becomes the engine which drives you forward for the rest of your time. Do you need 5,000 people? No. But you probably do need to quit and to do something on your own on an average salary, about 800 to 1,000.
Let's talk some real metrics. So last week I was unable to stream because I was in Florida at a funeral. I was unable to stream for most of the week. So both of my shows, my Tuesday night show and my Thursday morning show that I normally stream, didn't get to. All right. Only got one Luke's draws in. I wasn't in people. I didn't have people's attention. During that week, I don't know, I guess YouTube's been doing a purge. I lost 1,300 subscribers in like 2 weeks. Yeah. Like half of, like, yeah, a third of my audience is gone from what I used to have. I don't even know what happened. But my watch time was up, and so was my engagement was up. But what I noticed was the first streams back, my views were down from being off for a week, because I'm now. So guess what? Now it's like, well, I've talked to all of my clients. I'm like, I'm going to be drawing your work live on my YouTube, because I've got to get in people's. I'm going to be recording these and doing speed draws so that I can. You've got to get out. You've got to. It is. Again, I have to say it again, in the economy of attention, with all of this, and what makes things more difficult now is that, you know, we've got AI now to contend with, where not only is it with art, but it's with writing, and it's with. I see these ads for, you know, let AI write your tutorial course so you can make money off of what the AI's teaching people. Clayton, you have tell us about your school or about what you do on YouTube. I'm gonna blow you up.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Look at that beautiful studio.
Yeah, I've been setting things up over here. But howtodrawcomics.net teaches people how to draw comic books, and it covers everything from anatomy, proportions, perspective, that kind of stuff. Most of the content is free on the website. Then we've got the premium section when you're ready to really level up your skill set. You can check out courses by instructors such as myself. We got some by David Finch over there.
I
few
love
by
that guy.
Trent Kanuga, you know, and a bunch of other instructors who tend to know what they're talking about.
No offense, Clayton, but Finch is my favorite comic book artist right now.
Oh, no, I love Finch. That's how I came up in the game too. One of my biggest inspirations and influences. But definitely check out howtodrawcomics.net. It's awesome. What I wanted to say to you though, Luke, because that's my plug over, is that when it comes to AI, it is a massive gift to exactly what it is we're talking about here, people who want to start a personal brand. Because now, Luke, instead of wasting time writing up a description for this stream manually, you can get the AI to do most of the work. And so what it allows you to do is just create, purely create. As far as the marketing is concerned, 80-90% of it is taken care of by the AI. Godsend to independent businesses who don't have time to market.
Very true. I do agree. In that sense, I'm going to take this. I'm going to switch this around and do that. So, but we are seeing a lot of people trying to make money off of AI art. So prompted art, basically.
Wasn't that outlawed
How's that going?
recently?
Is that working out for them?
Wasn't
Some
it
people.
outlawed? I think they made a law that you can't do that.
Did they? Well, I don't know. I don't know
Like
about
a
that.
copyright, you can't copyright it.
Well,
If
there's
it's
still
the
people
AI.
that are.
Copyright it, you can sell
There's still
it.
people making prints
I mean,
and selling
you
them at
can't-
conventions.
I used it last
What
week
is-
to
let
make
me
a
look
logo for a customer.
What's that?
I used it last week. I'm building a website for this hair extensions lady, and she's like, "Oh, I need a logo." I'm like, "Crap, she's already paid for the project." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to over and above." So I just went to AI. Boom, made the logo within 10 seconds. She loved it. There we go.
Just don't tell her that anybody else can use that logo.
So
Yeah.
apparently they can't.
'Cause you
So
can't copyright
AI
it.
can't. Yeah, can't be copyrighted.
Yeah, but I paid for it. And I looked at the T's and C's of the AI company I used, and I paid premium for it, so it's mine. And they've taken it off their dashboard. Didn't opt in to share it.
Oh, well, I didn't know that you could do that.
have no
I know
idea.
Photoshop has got new AI tools. So AI is a gift. I agree, especially like right now. Adobe Firefly, I cannot wait to get access to that. I can hand draw a font, and Adobe will recreate it in vector for me. I can do a logo, and I can scan it, and AI will build the vector for me based off of my hand drawing, which would take me 20, 30 minutes before.
That's amazing.
Sometimes even longer.
Wait, how does it
depending
do
on the
that?
complexity. I don't even know.
What application are you talking about?
Adobe Firefly. Got to look it up, man. It's
Right.
because I do a lot of things, not just comic book stuff. But yeah, so it is a tool and writing descriptions. Now I might have to pick your brain. I don't know. How do you use AI to market? Like what are some tips there?
I don't know if I want to give away all my secrets, but
I was about to say that look says he doesn't want to say.
I will tell you. I will tell
Give
you
me
that
part A of part 3 of the plan.
someone who is look, I'll say this, that as far as all the grunt work is concerned, like I said, typing out a description for your YouTube video or a social media post or whatever, that's nothing, right? Like it doesn't, you could post 1 billion social media posts a day and no one would care about them tomorrow. And so it's not like a final product that you're selling.
Yeah.
So AI is great for stuff like that. It's stuff that takes time. That takes up a lot of time as far as your marketing is concerned. Now, as far as writing a marketing email, if you are going to use AI for that, or just an informative article of some kind, which is questionable because you run the risk then of Google picking up on the fact that you're using AI to write your articles and then basically de-ranking your website because of it. However, AI is getting so popular now that there's
got a reverse
ways
case
in
for
which
that.
it is basically undetectable. And so here's the thing, though. You want to take what the AI gives you, and then you do want to do some editing. Okay, you want to fashion the content so that it is appropriate for what it is that you're trying to get across, so that it doesn't sound like AI in any way, and that it makes sense.
Yeah, AI is
You want to
autistic. It
proofread
doesn't
it,
have
right?
any emotional awareness at all.
Yeah, 100%.
I ran-
And sorry, the danger is that you don't want to lose these skills for yourself. Okay, so keep that in mind. You want to be able to maintain the ability to write out an article on the thing that you know about. Okay, so that's important. I've found that in my utilization of AI, I've actually become much more informed and a better writer because of it. simply because of the fact that it uses it's added to my vocabulary. It's put things in ways that I never thought of putting it before, and so I take that now and I imitate it in my writing. So it's been a great learning tool in that aspect. But if as far as the marketing is concerned, there are better ways to sell a product through email marketing, for example, than what the AI can produce, because the AI produces just what it knows is a standard, but it's not going to know insider tactics. It's not going to be able to get deep into the psychology necessarily of your customer base. So it'll write a fairly good pitch for your product, for you. Let's say, for example, your Indiegogo campaign for your comic book. Hey, right, Luke, you don't have to spend an entire day writing that out anymore. Now
you can do with it.
Now you can you get the basic plot of your book written in there, make it 750 words or whatever you want to make it, and then it does a pretty damn good job, especially with ChatGPT 4, of writing out your page.
Joke's on you, Clayton. I don't spend a day doing that anyway.
No, what do you use?
I use me. And then I send it to my editor.
Well, there you go, right? So people have always hired copywriters. People have always hired people like social media managers to do this stuff for them. It's just that now it's a lot cheaper. And it's probably going to get done better.
I had a client.
I think it's the most hilarious thing that one of the first things these neural networks are going to be able to overtake by having to program them to be, actual like high vector math neural networks, is programming itself.
What were you
saying?
I've got a client that deals with woodwork and that sort of stuff, like finials, timber gates, awnings, all that stuff. And he called me up because he hired an SEO company that's just not doing their job. And I said, well, what's the main page you focused on? So I took that page and I created a clone of it, deleted all the other contents and all the descriptions and crap that came from the SEO company. Went to the Chat GPT, put in my criteria, what I wanted, blah, 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 and then I published it. So almost like A/B testing. He's got 120 gain in phone calls and bookings and inquiries just from that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, what? How did you make that happen?
Well, I'm not going to give away my secret sauce.
Okay. I have to talk to you, Ray.
No,
I have to hit you up sometime.
We're going to have to create a special DM group.
Yeah.
How do we do this? Because honestly, these are some of the tools that we should be helping each other with. I think to some extent, right? I mean,
well, buddy, you were talking about just the fact you've got a job that you've got to attend to, like how you're supposed to manage all this other stuff to build your business and whatever. Now you use AI.
Well, you can pose questions to it, like
I can think like my issue is not what I was talking about is that.
Hold on, buddy. Whiskey was talking. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I kind of walked over you, but you can pose questions to it, like what is the most psychologically impactful syllable that I can use in this phrase, right? Like, or this word construction. Study the word construction, or like how things are said, where it comes from, where its roots are. And then you can go to the history of that and then use all of that as a tool, like a toolbox. You can just whip out and be like, well, bam, here's the most impactful thing that any human could ever say at any point in time to get your attention and post your media content.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, because I spent probably about 6 to 8 hours on that page, but just rejigging, revisiting, rejigging, and then my final product. But instead of having a content writer that you're paying per word and you're not happy with it, you're still paying for that iteration and you're paying again for the new revision. Some of them have revisions included and that sort of stuff. I've hired content writers myself, and that shit's not cheap.
No, it's not. Let me tell you how AI has improved my business. Because there's so much AI art floating out there, people want physical, tangible things now. I'm primarily a digital artist because it's fast and it's cheap, which is the primary way that I get jobs outside of being reasonably good, is being fast and cheap. But now people want traditional art. The better I get, through practice and through hard work. They want traditional art. And so I've started including traditional art, and those pieces sell for a lot more. And the page rate goes for a lot more when I do a page traditionally. But we started including that because there's so much fake out there. People want some real. So kind of get back to our kind of topic. There is so much fake out there. People really do appreciate the real. And I think that goes back to the economy of time. There's so much fake out there that when you are reasonably real and authentic with people, they enjoy that. And that's why they engage with you on YouTube, Rumble, places like that. You know, I mean, that's
Well, it's the trust is what you're building. I mean, that's, the trust and communication and engagement and all that stuff. And which is what I was getting into, is it's not the problem of being able to write something. I can write all day long. The problem is I don't have time to get in front of the camera when people are actually watching the camera.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think the other thing is that maybe pre-recorded videos is probably...
Yes. Luke,
honestly,
I wanted
right
to
now,
ask you.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you only stream or do you do pre-recorded videos as well?
I occasionally do pre-recorded videos, and I'm wanting to try to do shorts because I know that I watch mostly shorts. And so if I watch mostly shorts, most people probably watch mostly shorts. But I'm like, what content do I do?
I'm the weirdo that reads books on YouTube, aren't I?
Yes.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
you are.
So I hope they're being read to you though, buddy.
Yeah,
Or is it just
I
like
listen to
ambient
audiobooks.
music being played
today
in the
I was
background?
listening to Ray Dalio, Fall of the Empires on my Audible. But I use YouTube for different podcasts. Like the other day I was listening to, there was a dude in the 70s describing electromagnetism and the different trains and how they work. That was kind of interesting. It was about a 3-hour thing.
Yeah.
So
that stuff is great because what is it? Both of those things you just said there. Now these could have been posted at any time, but the fact that you came across them and listened to them, it means that they're evergreen content. So pre-recorded evergreen content about particular topics, because YouTube's a search engine. It's basically Google with video. Whenever I need to figure something out, I just use YouTube. Especially with programs and applications, it's like, how do I do this? And
that's why it's always funny with those.
So people who posted something 4 years ago are still getting hits on their videos today. That's how you do it.
Humor. This is funny. So in my videos, I did a video. Oh my gosh, what year was that? It was. I will tell you what year that was.
Pre-nap.
This was way pre-nap. This was in 2017. I did a video. Every week it gets new views. It was using chorus with worship guitar. I just did a quick video. It's about 5 minutes long, showing how I use the chorus effect with worship guitar to make it fill it out when I'm kind of the primary guitarist. That video every week gets viewed. My channel has migrated far away from music. It is comic books, a little bit of faith, but mostly drawing videos and then opinion shows like this. Every week it gets views and it gets me new subs. That video does. Evergreen. Talk about evergreen.
So what does that tell you, Luke? If you
I
want
need
to
to do more
build your
videos like that,
business, build an audience, is streaming really the thing that you're supposed to be doing? Now, I know everyone
Not
else
at
in
all.
Comicsgate is, but I've recently been asking myself, is that the best thing that you can do when it comes to crowdfunding comic books?
Now, if
Possibly
I could get
not.
AI to edit my videos for me, that would be awesome.
Just ask the AI.
Benny, yes, I'm still going because I have 32 ounces of coffee.
Ask the AI what sells the best. See what it says.
There we go.
How do I make my comic book sell? Like
So what I'm
crazy,
saying
like
here
hotcakes?
is that what we need is the five
Put
of us
tits in it.
on the next show with just chat GPT up, and we just ask it questions on it.
That would be fun.
Just break it, man.
Sounds great.
That would be crazy.
Everybody brings their favorite libation. We imbibe it very liberally.
And with that, I think it is time for us to sign off tonight. Guys, it has been a great pleasure having all of you here. Great input tonight. We really span the gamut of conversation this evening. And normally NerdCap is about an hour and a half long. We've gone for 2 hours and 35 minutes this evening. But we've enjoyed ourselves. And I think it was, Clayton, it was great having you here tonight. Great
Thank
input.
you for having me.
I know I learned some things. Guys, check out howtodrawcomics.net. Learn how to draw from a real person. It's not
I am real. I'm not AI.
I don't know.
Can we
So
prove
your
it?
video says.
There's really no way
He's
that
already
we can prove
admitted
it.
to using AI. He could just put himself here.
Nah, I don't use AI that much at all,
know?
if at all, really.
Man, yeah, I have used AI occasionally. I actually used a little bit for some design ideas. Like I'll put the client's prompt in, and after I've done a sketch or two, and then I'll put a prompt in. I used to. I don't do a lot anymore because I wound up never using those. And, the client never liked that idea anyway. So I just well, apparently they
That's
like my
really
idea
the
there.
unfair aspect of AI. It's not the fact that it recreates so many people, which, I mean, that is horrible. But the thing is how long would it take you to make a massive alteration to something you had created? It would take you days, at least hours, right? But it takes the machine seconds.
Seconds. I had a client, they go, hey, I want that panel. I would like you to zoom in on that. And it was okay because I had just finished up the ink on that. And it was digital, but I'm like, I have to redraw it because the detail's not there. I mean, I could just make it bigger, but it's not going to look what you want it to look like just because I zoomed in on it. So I had to redraw that panel. And then we just had the colors done on the page. It's done, everything approved. And the writer was like, how much work would it be to zoom in on that panel? I said, too much damn work. It's not happening. I said you have to pay me for a redraw.
That's crazy.
Because because we can't just make up detail that was never there. AI might be able to do that soon. They're starting to do that with old photos and stuff. But even though I'm a digital artist for the most part, I still draw almost every line. I say almost every line because I have a couple of brushes that have hash marks that I've made that kind of fill in a big area if I need them.
Yeah. Get AI to do the stuff that you don't want to do, that you're not great at in your business. If you're not a writer and you don't enjoy writing, then, which I know, I've got creative guys who I know who like making music, for example, and they really hate the marketing aspect of it.
Yeah.
They just want to create music. Now they can. Just
I do hate
get
marketing.
the
I
AI
hate
to write
writing
better
ad
than you
copy.
ever could, and
I hate writing ad copy.
Just
It's all of
double-check
that
the grammar.
clerical stuff. Yeah, really what it is, what gets in the way of me loving doing what I'm doing. I really, really like what I'm doing. What gets in the way of me loving what I'm doing is having to do all that ad copy stuff and social media stuff. I hate doing that.
now I love that stuff because I like the psychology of it. But and I also know that the AI actually can't do what I need. What I've learned, I need the marketing to do.
Well, I think why I don't like it is because that was my whole life. People was my whole life in ministry. And what I like about being an illustrator is not talking to people. And it sounds so hermity.
Oh, we got
of
coffee
me.
Luke now.
I'm like, it just sounds so hermity of me to say that. But that is the one aspect I liked, where it's me and just creating art that I love, and it's nice to kind of have that break. And the getting on social media and sifting through all of the fakety-fako crap and people grandstanding and virtue signaling, and whenever you do something and you put yourself out there, people will hate you for no reason at all. I'm a fairly reasonable and likable person, I think. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm delusional in that fact. But I started a website. There are people that hate me because I started said website.
What website?
Fundmycomic.com. I don't know if you've heard of this or not.
Fund your comic.
Fundmycomic.com. It is a crowdfunding website that focuses on freedom of expression, creator independence, and building trust between you and your backers. It is like there's no bending the knee. We don't care how you vote. We don't care, as long as you make it through the screening process to get approved. We do have some public decency guidelines, but once you make it through that, if someone comes and says, well, I don't like that Clayton is Comicsgate, I think that you should remove him from your site, I'm going to tell him to go kick bricks. Like that's not going to happen. You have the right to create whatever you want to create, and you follow the public decency guidelines that we have, then you should be able to produce a living crowdfunding your book or having a storefront up on this, kind of like a virtual comic book shop is what it is. So you can crowdfund or have a storefront. And it also, we only take a 3% platform fee. We were going to do 2%, but it's a little more expensive than what we thought it was going to be.
Wow,
so
that's low.
We have to do a 3% platform fee. So
It's still kick-ass, though.
yeah, but then people are like upset. Oh, and here's a really cool thing about it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show it real quick before we go, only because, well, we're already here, so why not? It's Belmont Press Comics.com. His website,
Wait,
he just got this. This is not me. No, that's not me.
Oh.
But this is Belmont. Did I spell it wrong? Of course I did. I spelt it with 2 L's. BelmontPressComics.com. BelmontPressComics.com. It just got started today. If you go there, this is his website. It's branded for him. But this is our widget. So we've got this widget, and you can edit it any way you want. And if you're as talented as Ray with this stuff, as knowledgeable as he is, then you can actually go in and even further manipulate this once the widget code is initiated. And you just take it and copy
What does
it.
it have? Custom CSS or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you pop this into your HTML code on your website, and then your campaign is literally at your domain name. So BelmontPress.com is his Fund My Comic campaign. We take care of all the heavy lifting, all of the processing, all of the back-end stuff. All you've got to do is create your campaign, put it on your website, and then it's still over here in our virtual store. So you can still find his campaign over here. So he can get residual traffic from this, or he can just direct all of his traffic to BelmontPressComics.com to get his backers. So that's something that nobody else is offering. And right now we're about 80% done with the coding for the shopping cart feature. Shopping cart feature is going to be really cool, guys. It's what we kind of wanted to do from the beginning.
That's cool.
Ray can attest to that. We've been trying to do this. But basically what it is, you'll be able to choose multiple rewards, and it will go into a shopping cart icon over to the side that hovers, and then you can check out all at once. So it's an easier way than doing add-ons, and it truly treats your campaign a la carte for your backers, and it treats it like a storefront, like a true storefront. And so that's what we've got going here with that. And there's so many people that said, man, we needed something that was within the community, that was free, that was, for the community, but for everybody else too, whatever. And there's still people that won't use this site for whatever reason. I don't know.
Who did you get hate from? People in CG?
Yes, I've gotten hate from people in CG. Yeah.
Right.
And outside of CG. Of course, the normal antis. We're used to them. The cat ladies and so on and so forth, and all the her ex-girlfriends. But no, I've gotten people in CG that have given me flack over this thing, which was surprising to me. It was surprising
Really?
that they would do that.
What were they saying? Why were they giving you flack?
I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative. It's a
You don't
myriad
want to
of
get
things.
into it.
Yeah, it's a myriad of things. I don't want the site to be about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
But
what
you'd
you're
be
saying. I
you'd
think
be
it's cool.
surprised.
Ignore them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we've been doing. But you'd be surprised, like how people just like, oh, they don't like that, like for whatever reason. You would think they would absolutely love that this tool is available to them at a 3% platform fee. In fact, one person, well, I will say this, one person did say that it was a downgraded IgG, which it's not an Indiegogo. It is to replace Indiegogo, but it's not a copy. Like it's never been a copy.
Yeah.
It's always supposed to be its own thing that was very unique to what our needs are as comic book and game creators. It was always supposed to be a virtual hub, like that's why our homepage, why we have check the shelf. Like you're literally looking at like what you would do at a comic book shop when you go looking around. And we have campaigns that are keep it all, campaigns that are all or nothing, and campaigns that are continuous campaigns, which are basically storefronts. They'll be up forever if they want. This is the way that they sell their comic. And if you want to have a storefront, if you want your product on, right now, if you want it on your website, you have to have it on your website. You can have it on Indiegogo. You're paying different platform fees. You're doing all of that other stuff. And if you want it over here, over there, here you can have it in a hub where people are going to fund my comic. They're looking for a place to buy comics and games.
So what's the website called again?
Fundmycomic.com.
Fund my comic. Sorry, I have a short-term memory.
It's okay. That's why I say
because that's a really catchy name too.
Yeah, that's why I say the name all the time because I know it's hard for people. We got
I swear the internet's giving me brain damage.
Yeah, right.
It's damaged us all.
But yeah, so here's an opportunity for you to kind of be seen, but at the same time use a widget to have your own storefront basically on your website. So if you had a different homepage and you just wanted to link the and you could edit even the header, the top of this, the bottom, you can there's so much stuff that you can do. This is the most simple. This was put up in about 6 minutes from the time that they bought the domain to the time that they got the website up and live. The reason being is because Belmont had to prove that he had a storefront for his Stripe account. And they were giving him a hard time because he didn't have a website. And so he's like, screw it, I'm getting a website. And so he did that today, and so he's got it up and running. But you could do this, like if you wanted to put, your book on your website or run your next crowdfunding campaign from your website on your own, you can still do a Fund My Comic and launch it from your page and keep your fans, keep your audience on your website, never send them anywhere else.
Hey, Ray, you're the web guy. What kind of stuff can we do with this widget? Like, what can we? What's the layman? Like, we don't know what's going on.
You'd probably have to get in there and have a good squiz at it. I've only looked at it briefly. Okay, to be honest, but you'll probably be able to see once you see the code, you'll see certain areas that control certain aspects of what's in here. But it also depends on where you're putting this code. Is it going into a WordPress? Is it going into a Wix? That sort of thing, because those content management systems will give you further options for styling, like custom CSS and panels and stuff like that.
And that's where you can hire a guy like Ray to do it for you.
Yeah. But for the layman, let's say you guys have a WordPress website and you've got your shop and you've got your contact us. Just go and create a brand new page and copy the widget into it.
Yep. Like I said, we're about 80% done with the shopping cart feature. That should be up and running by the end of the week.
Because Luke and I tested it on my site. I use WordPress. And I just created a new page and slapped it in there. My global header and my global footer is already there. The coloring and that sort of stuff with regards to your progress bar, your contribute button, your share campaign buttons, you probably have to fiddle and faddle with that a bit, depending if it's different on your site.
You can actually edit that. Here, let me show you real quick.
In your accounts with Fund My Comic, yeah.
Yeah, so here is, I'll just show you where this is at. On the widget tab, you can go in here and you can change the theme colors. So you actually can choose new colors, or if you have colors saved. and then you can literally change the fonts. These are all of the fonts that you can change on there. And then, can you see that when I'm doing that drop down menu?
Yeah, we can see it.
Because I don't have the window. And then these are all the tabs that you can change the colors of, and that you can set the new tab colors for everything. So you can go in and change basic stylizing of it, CSS of it, to match your website and your branding, which is still, I mean, it's very, very useful. So if you have a normal like website and you want to plug in your campaign on just a link, so let's say you go to buddylord.com, you've got a homepage, got all your other stuff. You can actually just create another page link that links up to, which is what I did originally with the website. That's why I started it, was so that I could just do that. I just wanted to plug that in, and then it turned out that the infrastructure was way more robust than what I thought it was going to be. And Ray, you're one of the people that told me that. That's like, this is way bigger than just having it on your own website. You're a big encouragement in that. I do appreciate the role that you've played in Fund My Comic, and I hope that other people do as well, because you've played a huge part in that. I do appreciate you.
No worries.
Kind of doing that with us. But again, guys, thanks for being here. Now we're about 3-hour mark, and we're definitely going to get out of here. Thanks for asking those questions, Clayton, about Fund My Comic. And so hopefully everyone will check that out. Remember, fundmycomic.com. We have believe it is tomorrow night, Wednesday night. We have a book that is launching on Fund My Comic. Again, it's like a second chance exclusive. The Fall of Man. Paul Bird launches tomorrow night on Michael Bancroft's channel. And then Friday night, Edwin Acevedo launches his book, which is a Fund My Comic exclusive, on Michael Bancroft's channel as well. We have several exclusives up there, and you're going to see some really great creators coming over and launching some new books and new content on Fund My Comic the next couple of months. I'm very excited about it. Doing a lot of cool things over there. Get out and do something, guys. Make something happen. Make it happen. So,
absolutely.
I think that's all I got. So,
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
yep. Anyway, I started blasting. I did not mean to hit that.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.
There is a market for that.
Wow,
Guys, take it easy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be back here Thursday morning for another episode of Nerd Bacon. We had to take last week off, and we are looking forward to hanging out with you next Thursday. It's going to be a fun time. So we're going to have a great time with that. And be looking for more content to come, guys. Blessings. Remember, build up more than you tear down. Leave the woodpile higher than you found it. And we're not going to play that song. We're going to do this. See you guys.